Happy Friday morning. We have made it to the end of the week and glad that you are here on KCMO Talk Radio. And what a news week it's been in this town between the Royals, the Chiefs, the drama that once again popped up out of absolutely nowhere on Tuesday in the Missouri legislature. It looked like they were set to approve tens of millions of dollars per year to keep these teams in Missouri. And then the whole thing went up in flames by Wednesday. It was like 36 hours. It looked like it was going to happen, then it wasn't going to happen. Well, we will get the response from the state of Kansas to all this as they had their star bond offer out there. In 30 minutes, Dan Hawkins, he is the Kansas Speaker of the House. We will get his response to the drama and lack of action in Missouri this week, and then Governor Mike Kehoe on the Missouri side at 8 o'clock. So we have a busy Friday morning for you planned here on 95.7 FM. In the meantime, this happened yesterday. Kansas City Tesla alleged was indicted by a grand jury on malicious destruction of property and unlawful possession of an unregistered destructive device. McIntyre's out on bond after being arrested by federal agents in April while attending college in Boston. This is the young man, woman, I don't know. He is taking, it looks like, some type of medicine, hormone treatment, whatever it might be, for transgenderism. That's why he was allowed out on bond. But investigators believe that McIntyre is the one who used a Molotov cocktail to start the fire at the Kansas City Tesla Service Center back in March, where 2 Tesla Cybertrucks were, of course, lit on fire. He will appear in court today at 1 p.m., and the prosecutors have asked the judge to consider revoking his bond. But the attorneys for McIntyre have asked the same judge to reject the prosecutor's request. So this is, classic Friday news dump. This is going to come down at 1 o'clock today. I will let Guy Benson know. I know he's doing his national show, but I'll reach out to Guy and say, hey, if this news breaks today that the judge once again rejects the prosecutor's request of revoking bond, I'll let Guy know and try to get it a plug today on the afternoon show here on KCMO, because you know and I know that no other radio station in town is going to bring this up, right? National Panhandler Radio, forget it. There's no way that their programming will bring it up. And what, you think KMBZ is going to bring this up, please? I'm sure they got, boomer humor trivia today or something that they don't want to miss out on at 3:30, or, they're not going to do any real news. So they're not going to touch this thing with a 10-foot pole. So I will see when this breaks, either Vince or Guy. I'll try to get one of those folks to give you the update this afternoon because, man, I 1 o'clock on a Friday, you got to be kidding me. But we'll see. We'll see what this judge is all about. Is he going to literally allow an alleged, as the DOJ is calling acts like this, domestic terrorism? Are we going to allow a domestic terrorist to basically make his own decisions on whether or not he's allowed to have a bond revoked because he has to get transgender treatments? Are we going to be and live in that kind of a world? We'll find out today at 1 o'clock.
Shouldn't we treat him like the J6ers?
Yeah. You would think. That's the world we live in, though. Hey, I'm telling you, man, just have that purse in your back seat. Just in case you're a guy, you get pulled over, throw on your wig, pull out the purse and say, sir, you can't arrest me. Okay, I gotta go run and get my estrogen treatments. Sorry, you can't arrest me.
We're normalizing the bulge over here.
Don't do it. It's too early for that.
Normalize the bulge.
No.
We are normalizing the bulge.
It's only 6:10 in the morning, Mark.
I often wonder if people under 30 understand the ruse of Corporal Klinger in the movie, in MASH, in the series, right?
You and Bill O'Reilly with the references there, John.
Well, it's still on. It's still on.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You got that on O'Reilly. Well done there, my man. Well done. So that's going to be 1 o'clock today. We'll keep an eye on it. Now, speaking of violence, did you see what James Comey did on social media? James Comey, of course, former FBI director, fired by Trump going on 8 years ago now, long not a fan of the president of the United States. The Secret Service is now investigating former FBI Director James Comey after he was accused yesterday of calling for violence against President Trump in a since-deleted Instagram post. So James Comey shared a picture of seashells arranged in the shape of the numerals 8647. Now, the number 86 is commonly used as slang, meaning to get rid of somebody or ejecting someone. Donald Trump is the 47th president of the United States. So James Comey posts a picture of seashells that spell out, or I guess roll out the numbers, 8647. And Comey shares this picture on Instagram. And he adds the caption, "Cool shell formation on my beach walk." Well, depending on how you interpret 86, it could mean to eject. It could mean to get rid of somebody. And obviously, there were many in Donald Trump's camp that took that as a threat of violence. James Comey goes on to delete the Instagram post, and he shared the following in response. He said in a statement posted on Instagram, "I posted a picture earlier of some shells I saw today on a beach walk, which I assumed were a political message. I didn't realize some folks associated those numbers with violence. It never occurred to me, but I oppose violence of any kind, so I took the post down." Now, obviously, James Comey did not stumble on a bunch of seashells that just happened to conveniently spell out 8647.
Color coordinated, too, I might add.
Yes, there was a color coordination as well. I've been on many beaches in my day, and at no point do you stumble upon shells that just happen to spell out numbers conveniently like 8647. Although I did once stumble upon a bunch of seashells that spelled out, "Screw you, James Comey, you tool bag." It just happened one day. It was like that was
one of your long walks on the beach.
Yes, you're right. So it was amazing. I couldn't believe it. I wish I had a photo of it, but it was like 7 or 8 years ago. So I just, I didn't think twice. I just kept going on with my day. But
well, you figure you might come across it again sometime.
Yeah, I'd love to. I'll be visiting some family this summer back east. So maybe I'll just stumble upon that same seashell verbiage just right there on the side of the beach. "Screw you, James Comey, you tool bag." But I'm not going to assume that's going to happen. Maybe when I'm out with Bill O'Reilly this summer, we'll bump into some kind of seashell, montage like that.
The waves ripple around the cove, and the next thing you know, we got a complete sentence.
Yeah, exactly. So James Comey clearly, he knew what he was doing, right? It wasn't a convenient group of seashells that happened to spell out 8647. He clearly put it together. He took the photo. He thought it would be cute, and he didn't really think anything of it. He thought he was being clever. But obviously, 86 can be interpreted in certain ways by certain people. Now, I will say I do find it a little bit rich that, the all-time social media troll is Donald Trump, and now some of the most ardent supporters are like, "Wait, no, you can't do that." It's like, come on. You can't have it both ways. You can't. Now, this is being investigated, though, by the Secret Service. And because of Donald Trump's unique standing in history as somebody who came within a quarter inch of getting killed by an assassin and then also dealt with another assassination attempt, I do think that James Comey has to have a little bit more foresight and a little bit more self-awareness to not do something like this. Like, I don't think that's too much to ask. But it's also, I think it's a good reminder that one of the most valuable parts of Donald Trump's legacy will be pointing out and really exposing, whether you want to use the word or the phrase deep state or whatever you want to call it, the bureaucratic bloat that ran so deep, the numbers of individuals who are not elected by the American people, but wielded a tremendous amount of power over the United States of America. And James Comey was just the tip of the iceberg. But in the end, you know what a guy like James Comey is now? He's an MSNBC wine mom. That's what James Comey is. I mean, I think about this. It's like, this is what like.
She heading up book club this
Yeah,
week?
exactly. This is exactly what some triggered MSNBC wine mom would do. I'm on my walk on the beach, and I just stumbled upon the shells that happen to spell out 8647. And oh, wow, what a beautiful little montage here on the beach. It's like, this is what MSNBC wine moms do. And that's what James Comey ultimately is. But once again, in a world where, sadly, political violence and threats have to be taken seriously, now you've got an investigation by the Secret Service. Do I think anything's going to come of this? No, I don't. But you know what? Making Comey squirm a little bit is not the worst way to end the week. 913-408-7957. That's how you join us on KCMO Talk Radio. I do want to get your thoughts on this and much more throughout the morning here on 95.7 FM, because this one in particular, like, I think it more exposes what a tool this guy is. I don't think it's some kind of massive threat for violence against Donald Trump by the former FBI director. He's just an out-of-touch tool who has no self-awareness. And we got Dan Hawkins coming up at the bottom of the hour on KCMO Talk Radio, 95.7 FM, and streaming on the KCMO Talk Radio app.
Dave Ramsey here, and you're listening to Pete Mundo on KCMO Talk Radio, now airing on FM at 95.7.
622, we will talk to Kansas Speaker of the House, Dan Hawkins, just over 10 minutes from now on KCMO Talk Radio, 95.7 FM, and streaming on the KCMO Talk Radio app. In the meantime, we got James Comey. I didn't have this on my bingo card for the week. I didn't have Missouri legislature taking up potential state funding for the Chiefs and the Royals on Tuesday, and that thing went up in flames. I didn't have the Secret Service ending the week investigating former FBI Director James Comey after he was accused of calling for violence against President Trump in an Instagram post where he shared pictures of seashells that formed the numbers 8647. 86, of course, means to basically eject, reject, cancel, discard of somebody. But there also is a slang for 86, which means to kill somebody. And with Donald Trump being the 47th president of the United States, Comey had to delete that post on Instagram, issue an apology, but now he's got the Secret Service investigating him. So wonder what that feels like for a guy who did a lot of investigating during his time that he should not have done. Roger and Lee Summit. What's up, Roger?
Hey, Pete. How's it going this morning?
Happy Friday, bro. I'm doing well.
Yes, sir. Beautiful day. Yeah. Oh, Comey, he's told us who he was ever since the Hillary exoneration letter, so doesn't really surprise me. Pretty bonehead move, but I saw on Facebook this morning where Eric Schmidt, our great senator from Missouri, he posted a picture of seashells that spelled out FAFO. So,
that's a good job by Eric Schmidt. I got to find that post.
Definitely. It was on his page. So he's a Cardinals fan. We'll have to hold that against him. But anyway.
Yeah. You know, no one's perfect, right?
Exactly.
Have a great weekend.
One,
Thanks, Roger.
Yep.
I found that here. Yeah. I see that. He made that on Grok. That is AI tool. I may have to have some fun with that. I prefer my seashell expression that I just happened to stumble upon a few summers ago, and it read, James Comey is a massive tool bag, but I wish I just had a photo of it. I'll have to find it somewhere else. Maybe I'll stumble upon it this summer. John's in Topeka. What's up, John?
Hey, good morning. I always thought it was referred to 86 of them as you're throwing them in the grave, and because what I was understood was that 7 foot is a coffin length, and so you wanted to make sure to dig the grave at 8 feet so it fits good and 6 feet deep. But if you're going to go using slang like he is, he better know what he's talking about before he starts throwing it out there.
You know, the official definition from Merriam-Webster is not to kill, but you're right. In slang, 86 is to kill. Dude, I just think that James Comey got too cute. Like, I don't think he was calling for an assassination against Donald Trump, but he just got too cute. He got very stupid. He's not that bright of a guy. And I'm sure nothing of substance will come of this Secret Service investigation. But, you know, am I sitting here upset that James Comey's feeling a little heat? Nah, not really at all.
Yeah, exactly. Me either. I think he needs to dance it around in the frying pan anyhow, and as well as have a few charges, extra ones there for what he's done in the past, because I don't think the statute of limitations is up on that either. So, anyhow.
Well, maybe our man Dan Bongino can get to the bottom of that, John.
You know, it occurs to me as we go through popular culture, we change the meaning of things or just kind of blend stuff. You know, we used to say deep six something would be to get rid of it. You would deep six it, and then now suddenly you were trying to say that 86 is meaning deep six, I think.
Well, in the mafia, the term 86 refers to taking someone 8 miles out of town and putting them 6 feet under.
There you go.
So there's the mafia definition of it.
Onto that one.
Yep. So listen, it's not something that I think that James Comey intentionally did with the intent of getting one of his crazy followers to, God forbid, attempt to assassinate President Trump. I don't believe that. But all that being said, if this was reverse, exactly. If this was,
everybody be screaming, you know what 86 means.
Yes.
Don't get me started.
Yes, exactly. There'd be a lot of that going on. So from that point alone, that's where it's worth saying, hey, you know what, Comey, feel a little heat, get the investigation done, and let's see where it leads. On the text line, Pete, President Trump did not come within a quarter inch of being assassinated. He got hit with a bunch of glass from a shattered teleprompter. Conspiracy alert, conspiracy alert. We got the conspiracy nut job on line 7. Line 7, conspiracy nut job on the text line.
Assuming I didn't hang up on him. Right?
Yeah. Oh, man, I wish this person would call in. But, we all know that's not going to happen, right? 913-408-7957, our text line and our studio line on KCMO. The president is heading back home after his Middle East trip. He wrapped it up in Abu Dhabi, the capital of the United Arab Emirates, in the last few hours. And the guy has gotten a ton of investment. The main purpose of this trip, and we'll get into it more coming up throughout the morning here on KCMO, was to basically try to get these Middle East actors to be less reliant on China and more reliant on us. These are obviously not a bunch of choir boys in this part of the world. But this is where Trump not being really an ideologue can benefit him and can benefit the country and the world. He just cares about deals. He just cares about trying to figure out ways to appease these people to the point where they're not going to slaughter innocent individuals. And from that standpoint, he had a big successful trip. Next, Dan Hawkins, Kansas Speaker of the House. How does Kansas react to Missouri's move on the Chiefs and the Royals? Next.
From the nation's heartland, it's Mundo in the Morning on 95.7 FM KCMO Talk Radio.
What a week. Came out of nowhere on Tuesday that down in Jeff City on the Missouri side of the state line, there was momentum to try to pass a bill in the last week of the legislative session to basically get some state funding to the Chiefs and the Royals. And within about a day and a half, the whole thing went up in flames. So now we sit here exactly where we were 1 week ago. On the Kansas side, that star bond offer to the Chiefs and the Royals, and I guess technically any professional sports team, is still out there right now, but it does end at the end of June. Dan Hawkins is the Kansas Speaker of the House. He's obviously on the committee that would make that decision to possibly extend that star bond offer. Mr. Speaker, good morning. Thanks for being here. What are the odds right now that with about a month and a half to go, you extend the star bond offer to 2026?
Well, I would say right now we probably aren't in the position to.
Hang on. It cut out there for me. I want to make sure I hear what you said there, and the audience does as well. So if you don't mind, just hit the reset button on that answer for me.
Absolutely. Can you hear me now?
Yep, got you loud and clear.
Good. No, I don't have to extend. I think the negotiations.
Hang on. Mark, take him out of lock and just somebody talk to him because I don't know. The phone's not good right now. So that's like the biggest question. Are they going to extend the star bond deal? So I don't know. John's talking to Dan Hawkins right now, but that's right now the biggest question in the entire state of Kansas. Will they extend the star bond offer? If they do, we could be playing this song and dance for another year potentially, right? Because the teams could leverage these two states against each other. So that's really where this whole thing is at right now. If Kansas were to extend the star bond offer, then we could continue this conversation of Kansas versus Missouri for another 12 months. So third time, I know it's always a charm. Here he is, Speaker of the House, Dan Hawkins. All right, Mr. Speaker, what are the odds right now that you extend the star bond offer?
Well, I don't think we're really in a position to extend the star bond offer right now. We've still got 6 weeks or so to go before the end of the year, and I believe that the Commerce Department and the teams are in pretty good negotiations, and we kind of expect to have a deal by the time we get to that deadline.
Really? Okay. So you feel pretty confident right now that you can get something done here in the next few weeks. Do you feel better about one team or another at this point?
Yeah, actually, we feel pretty good about both teams. I know that the Royals have been in talks for certainly quite a while, and I think they're probably right at the edge of getting something done. The Chiefs have come on very, very strong in talks with the Commerce Department over the last several months, and certainly I believe that one. Now, I was a little worried that may never happen. It just seemed like it was going slow, but all of a sudden it's really picked up, and I think they're right there too. So I kind of expect the Commerce Department to bring us a pretty good proposal for both teams, and then we'll evaluate them and we'll have a vote.
So what is your timeline on something like that?
Well, we've got a deadline of June 30th. So, it's coming up. We've got, the full month of June. I actually think that we'll probably start hearing some information from the Commerce Department here in the next couple of weeks. So I think we get into June and we'll start hearing some stuff. So I'm pretty excited about it.
Oh, that would be exciting. What are we looking at location wise?
That's one thing we don't get to know until they bring the proposal. We don't know any more than what everybody else knows. Certainly what's in the press is the Royals are certainly looking at the Aspiria campus, but I think they actually have a couple of other locations too, and I don't know where those are. The only reason why I know about the Aspiria campus is because it's been in the press so much. And as far as the Chiefs, they haven't really revealed much to us besides what's in the press also. So, the way our system works is the Commerce Department does all the negotiations, and once they have a proposal put together, then they'll bring it to the LCC, which is made up of the 4 leaders on each side of the rotunda, and then we will evaluate those and then make a decision.
You think that the state of Kansas, with the Star Bond offer, could actually be in a position to fund through Star Bonds 2 stadiums? When you combine them, that could cost upwards of $5 billion?
Well, when you understand how Star Bonds works, I would say absolutely we can, because the whole premise behind Star Bonds is the Star Bond district, the sales tax that's produced in that district goes to pay the Star Bonds. So if it's not, if the proposal that's put together is not capable of doing that, then we wouldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
But they do a massive amount of analysis and projections. They kind of know what each group is willing to build and what kind of development will go around it to support it. And if those districts are good and are going to produce the sales tax, then it will work. So it's worked. The prime example is the Speedway. The Speedway paid off, 7 years early. And that was a great Star Bond district. So this is just exactly the same type of situation as what we were in with the Speedway many years ago.
Mm-hmm. And that was I want to say that was under $300 million, right? That was a much smaller operation, but still, to your point.
It was, yeah.
Okay. Wow. All right. Well, this is certainly some news here with Dan Hawkins, Kansas Speaker of the House. I do want to also ask you, Mr. Speaker, you announced this week that you're running for insurance commissioner. So that's for next year, obviously. It's going to be a big year in the state of Kansas. Most people probably couldn't even tell you who the current insurance commissioner is. So why is that important? What's the value of that position?
Well, that position is certainly the regulator for the insurance industry, and quite frankly, I have a pretty unique, since over 30-year period. I've been in the industry, done a lot of different things in this industry, and so I think I bring a really unique set of skills and experience to that job, and I'm looking forward to it. It's really that it's one of those things that I've kind of dreamed about over the years, and my speakership ends at the end of next year, at the end of 26. That would start the 1st of 27, and it'd be perfect timing. And we've got some things going on in our state and, of course, across the country, really. One of the biggest drivers of cost issues today is the insurance premiums. And if you're a business owner or a homeowner, you're feeling the pinch right now. We need to do everything we can to control those costs and to get those costs lowered, make sure everybody gets to stay in their houses and continue to enjoy the American dream of owning a business. So, it's an important position. It's one certainly that I'm ready to take on.
So it's a watchdog position in many respects, right? Is that my understanding?
It is. Yeah, it's twofold, really. It's an advocacy type position where you're advocating for policy holders in the state, making sure that contracts are being paid out, the claims are being paid out as they're supposed to. It's also a position that regulates the carriers that are in the industry. And I think one added thing that I've always thought the insurance commissioner should do, I'm not sure that they do it very well, and that is make sure we have enough carriers in the state so we have good competition and we can lower the rates, which that's probably one of the biggest things I'm going to try to tackle as quickly as possible, is to get more carriers in here. We literally have some industries here in Kansas that have one, maybe 2 carriers that provide all of the contracts for those businesses, and we got to have more. If you've got competition, rates will come down. So we've got to make sure we have the carriers here in Kansas to provide the insurance for the industries that are here.
Good deal. Well, Mr. Speaker, thank you for the time this morning on a Friday. We appreciate it. We'll be watching the next few weeks, and best of luck as you roll out the campaign for insurance commissioner.
Absolutely. Thank you a bunch, Pete.
You bet. Dan Hawkins on KCMO Talk Radio. How about that? They feel confident about getting not just one of these two teams, but both of these two teams, the Chiefs and the Royals, to the Kansas side of the state line. Wow. Coming up, the 6 at 6, top 6 stories in the 6 o'clock hour we will get to next on 95.7 FM KCMO, and we are always streaming on the KCMO Talk Radio app.
On Friday's Guy Benson Show, House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer on some of his work, plus the big, beautiful bill. Progress report there. Coming up at 2 o'clock on KCMO.
Glad you're here on 95.7 FM. It is 6:50 on a Friday morning, and let's get right to it.
It's time for the 6 at 6 on 95.7 KCMO Talk Radio. Number 1.
Top of the list this morning is a settlement in Kansas City, Missouri, tied to the firing of course, the former city manager, Brian Platt. This goes back to a lawsuit with former communications director Chris Hernandez, and the Kansas City, Missouri City Council has approved a $1.4 million settlement. You wonder why municipalities are going broke. This guy, Chris Hernandez, of course, won in court this spring. A jury determined that former city manager Brian Platt sidelined Hernandez for being unwilling to stretch the truth when talking to media. The jury ordered Kansas City to pay Hernandez $930,000 in damages. And yesterday, it came down that the city will approve a $1.4 million settlement. It was not unanimous by any stretch. Kevin O'Neill, Melissa Patterson-Hazley, Wes Rogers, and Nathan Willett all voted no. Rogers, Willett, and O'Neill are Northland Council members. Patterson-Hazley is 3rd District at large. Mayor Quentin Lucas and Councilwoman Andrea Boo were absent for the vote, so it approved 7-4. I mean, this is just obscene. The litigious nature of our culture is so out of control, and now you've got $1.4 million settlements like this for a comms guy that was maybe making, I don't know, $100,000. So you're talking about 14x his salary, even if it was more than that. It doesn't matter. It's ridiculous. But it's the environment that we find ourselves in.
Yeah, it's when the inmates run the asylum. That's what you get.
This is exactly what you get. And don't forget, Brian Platt was making $300,000 a year as city manager, and you know there's a settlement coming his way as well. And that's assuming that there's no lawsuit involved on his end. He may be suing too, which means more legal fees for the city. You're paying for that as the taxpayer. Then you're talking about potentially a 7-figure settlement for Brian Platt. I mean, this whole thing's going to end up costing the city millions of dollars. Millions. Not a million, multiple millions of dollars.
You get an award and you get an award.
Where's my, I'm going to work for the city just so I can sue their asses on the back end and try to make some money off this whole thing.
Well, don't think that revenue stream hadn't been tapped.
Yeah, I know. Trust me. I've heard from people on city council, like the water department's getting sued every day by employees. You know, you got low-level employees being like, I was discriminated against. Can I get $700,000? And too many times they're just settling this stuff because they don't want to deal with the legal fees, which are astronomical as well. So before I get off, get on a tangent here, I'll move on to number 2.
Number 2.
For the 6 at 6. All right, this came down yesterday because, of course, superintendents in the 3 largest Johnson County school districts wrote a letter, oh, how cute, laying out their opposition to the Educational Choice for Children Act. Letter submitted by the Blue Valley superintendent, the Olathe superintendent, and the Shawnee Mission superintendent. They wrote a letter, we are writing urgent opposition to the Educational Choice for Children Act. This legislation is currently in the U.S. House Ways and Means Committee. If passed, the bill would amend the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 to allow a credit against tax for charitable donations to nonprofit organizations, providing education scholarships to qualified elementary and secondary students. So basically, this would be potentially a boost for alternative education systems beyond the public schools. So naturally, you have the Shawnee Mission, Olathe, and Blue Valley superintendents saying, we don't want that. We do not like competition around here. So they signed this letter along with a lot of other superintendents around the country.
Number 3.
Next up for the 6 at 6, the PGA Championship is underway, and that's happening at Quail Hollow in Charlotte, North Carolina. Jonathan Vegas is in first place after the first round at 7 under. He tees off 8 o'clock this morning, and tied for second right now, Cam Davis and Ryan Gerard. They are both 5 under, 2 strokes back. So the leaderboard is not exactly, at least right now, a who's who. Scotty Scheffler is 5 back. It was 1 year ago today that Scotty Scheffler, as you may recall, was arrested going to the PGA Championship in the early morning hours.
Yeah, I have him come back. I'm having him do a comeback and winning this thing.
Oh, is he in your parlay?
I didn't do a parlay. I just have him straight up to win it all.
Oh, nice. Okay. All right. Bryson DeChambeau is back at even par. He tees off in, about 30 minutes or so. So not a ton of big names at the very top right now, but it's very early in that tournament.
Number 4.
For the 6 at 6, the Royals open up a series tonight against the Cardinals. And boy, do they need to turn some things around. They have now lost 4 of their past 5 games against the Red Sox and the Astros. And tonight, 3-game set, taking on the Cardinals. Anything you like tonight in that one, Mark? Are you keeping an eye on what's happening out at the K tonight?
I still need to look at the hitter-pitcher matchups, so I might have something by the time we do the segment later in the show.
Buy, sell, hold?
Maybe so.
All right. Cole Reagan's on the mound tonight.
That
so
should be good.
I know you're going to like that. We'll see how it plays out with the Royals opening up that set against the Cardinals tonight. 6:40 first pitch out at the K.
Number 5.
Well, the President of the United States comes home. He is on his way back. May have landed. No, he's still flying back. He hasn't landed yet. He left a few hours ago from the UAE, United Arab Emirates, in Abu Dhabi, their capital, to wrap up this Middle East trip. So a lot of investment coming out of that, and we'll tell you more about it throughout the morning here on KCMO Talk Radio.
Number 6.
And last but not least, this story didn't get a ton of national attention, but I did want to bring it to your attention real quick. A Texas mother was arrested this week on allegations she purchased ammunition and tactical gear for her son, who authorities said was planning a mass-targeted violence at a San Antonio school. Ashley Pardo, 33 years old, is being accused of helping her 13-year-old son. And how did they even catch this? The school staff found a map of the school, which had allegedly been drawn by the 13-year-old. And the map was labeled suicide route with the name of the school and a rifle drawn above it. And the mother was buying ammunition. That's just beyond whack. There's your 6 at 6 on KCMO. Coming up, why Kansas City can't have nice things. This is why we can't have nice things. Oh, my goodness. It's beyond frustrating. 7:05, good morning. Happy Friday. So glad you're here on KCMO 95.7 FM. And you can always stream us on the KCMO Talk Radio app. I had somebody text in yesterday saying they heard the 6 at 6 for the first time because they were on the East Coast and they were streaming earlier than they normally do. They don't usually check in till about 7 o'clock, but they were checking in early on the app, and they said, I love that 6 at 6 segment, which we do at 6:50, and we give you the top 6 stories in the 6 o'clock hour. But now, as we roll into the 7 o'clock hour, this is something that I just shook my head and said to myself, come on, Kansas City. Don't make this any more complicated than you need to. So yesterday, Kansas City failed at the city council level to try and prevent loitering from becoming more of a problem. There was an ordinance that was discussed designed to keep traffic moving and crack down on growing crime, especially when you're talking about the ATVs, the sideshows, the motorbikes, everything else, right? And this was expected to pass. Instead, it got held. Why? Because Councilman Jonathan Duncan did not want the ordinance to pass because he wanted a narrower definition of what loitering is. He was concerned that suddenly they would be arresting protesters and homeless people and vagrants under this potential loitering ordinance. Even though everybody with an ounce of common sense knows that what this really was supposed to be about and going to be about was about, trying to rein in the craziness happening on the streets of Kansas City, Missouri, that is impacting business owners and customers in some of the key entertainment parts of Kansas City. But they couldn't get it done. Here's Fox 4's reporting.
Councilmember Jonathan Duncan did not want this ordinance passed Thursday because he wanted a more narrow definition of what loitering is.
So you're concerned about potentially protesters being lumped into the loitering ordinance?
Protesters and houseless people, I don't think that if houseless people are causing a problem, that they should be harassed.
Right there. If you call them houseless people, by the way, you're not a serious person. We went from vagrants to homeless to now houseless to the unhoused. The insinuation of that, the whole point of switching the verbiage on this is to create this notion that somebody who is homeless because they simply can't figure out a way to get a roof over their head. That's not the case. The homeless crisis has nothing to do with people being unable to find a home. You look up rentals around Kansas City right now, and trust me, you will find plenty of options for you. People are homeless not because they can't find a house to live in or a home to live in. They're homeless because they have massive mental health issues and they can't get a job and they don't want to work and they don't even want to apply for what is, a country that provides highly generous benefits to the working poor. But the whole point in changing the lingo that we use around these individuals is to, frankly, not be truthful as to what's going on.
Woman Melissa Patterson testified on Tuesday saying they were concerned this ordinance would restrict a person's fundamental right to peacefully assemble. This ordinance could also crack down on the number of ATV riders on streets. In April, a KCPD officer attempted to stop one when he reversed and then ran over the officer with all four wheels. The officer's okay, but police are now cracking down, arresting 12 suspects just last weekend.
And unfortunately, there just happens to be places in Kansas City in which people have a good time with their friends and they don't move along. And so we need something to encourage them that is not the appropriate place for that behavior. And so that's what this ordinance really is attempting to do.
Well, thank you, Melissa Patterson-Hazley. Unfortunately, it could not get done. And Jonathan Duncan is one of the most left-wing guys on the entire city council. And, he was not expected to win, but to his credit, he out-hustled his opponent. I recall he went up against Dan Tarwater in South Kansas City in that city council election a couple of years ago, And Dan was the expected favorite. Dan was the guy that most people thought was going to win, but frankly, Jonathan Duncan out-hustled him on the ground in that 5th district in South KC. And now South Kansas City, which is far from, the furthest left-wing part of Kansas City, Missouri, arguably has the most left-wing guy in the city council. It used to be Bike Boy Bunch, but Bike Boy Bunch has kind of backed off quite a bit. We don't really talk about Bike Boy Bunch downtown anymore. I don't know if he's not biking around as much. I'm not sure what's going on there. But the guy who was Mr. Bike Lane and Mr. I'm going to bike around Kansas City and, do all these things unnecessarily to prove how much we need to ride bikes, he really hasn't been a staple in our conversation around Kansas City over the last, really since he got reelected a couple of years ago. Now that I think about it, I don't know what he's been up to. I'm sure he prefers to not be in our crosshairs, but I really haven't mentioned his name. It's got to be at least a year on the show. I don't know. I feel like we haven't really had a good time with him lately. But either way, this is something that is just so easy for Kansas City to do and give a tool to the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department and put it in their toolbox, and we just couldn't get it done. Because people are concerned that somehow if you're protesting or you're homeless, you're going to be targeted as a loiterer. There's a million things that you could hit homeless people for if you really wanted to on city ordinances. So this is not the thing that's going to send the police to say, that's finally the ordinance I'm going to go after the homeless with, John. That's it right there.
Yeah, that's not the one, the protest thing, I get it. This is exactly what it's for, though.
Yeah.
Right? There's a place, there's a time, when you make nuisances out of yourself. At least we don't have the crap where you're standing in front of the interstate exits around here.
Well, that's true.
St. Louis gets some of that.
You're right.
But you need to move those people out of the way ASAP.
You do. Absolutely spot on. No doubt about it. And instead, we end up in a situation here where now we've got to maybe figure out a way to reintroduce this. Mayor Lucas was not in the meeting yesterday at City Council. I don't know why. I know he's going to Qatar, but he's not leaving until Monday. So I'm not sure why he missed out on this one, but he was not there yesterday. And neither was Andrea Boo on the city council. So you just had basically the inmates running the asylum, and they could not get this thing done. And that's a loss for KCPD, unfortunately. It wasn't going to create this panacea, but it was at least going to give them something else to work with, and that's what they need. They need as many tools as they possibly can put in the toolbox, and this would have just been an additional tool is what it would have been.
Yeah, but in the tradition of all great blue cities, if something big's coming, you need to sweep the streets, right? See, you got the World Cup coming, so this is something you could move people along here.
Yeah. On the text line, 913-408-7957. Pete, I prefer to reference homeless people as urban campers. So that's very nice of you. That's very nice of you. Urban campers. You should try that out sometime. At some point this summer, I'm going to take the girls out and camp in the backyard. I don't know when. I can't do it on a night where it's going to be too warm and muggy. It's not really my ideal camping weather, but at some point, we'll put them in the backyard and do some camping. I do have to get the tent first. This weekend, quick note, I'm on solo dad duty the entire weekend, 1 on 3.
Prayers.
I know, thank you, which I've never done. Charlotte's only 14 months old, but this will be a first for me. So if you see, white smoke coming out of my house, it's got nothing to do with the Pope. Somebody call the police and help a brother out, okay?
I've already got the story. Mark and I have already written the lines here. We know how this movie's going to play out. So.
You'll see me on Monday morning. I'll look like Tom Hanks in Apollo 13 when he lands and he's like barely alive and he's getting all the treatment from the medical staff.
Any solo parent with an odd number of children in desperation tries to put the oldest one in charge. Then the middle one doesn't accept the older one's charge.
Yeah.
You got your hands full with the baby.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time. It's going to be a real good time. I'm looking forward to the challenge, though. At least I say that now before I walk into it.
You get out in front of it. You got to be smarter than that, that's for sure.
I'm not sweating it, man. I'm really not. We have Mike Kehoe coming up, the governor of Missouri, at 8 o'clock. Talk to him about why the Royals Chiefs funding completely collapsed in the last couple of days. The governor of Missouri will be here at 8 o'clock. First interview he's done on this issue since all the news this week. Don't miss it in 45 minutes on KCMO Talk Radio. Coming up, Trump has a surprisingly high approval in a state that you wouldn't expect. And then one of my favorite musicians from that state went in on the big guy. We'll get you that audio next on KCMO. All right, we are approaching, really in the midst of graduation season, right? It's here. You're thinking about it, and you're like, what do I do? Well, for every style and every graduate, my friends over at Diamonds Direct will take outstanding care of you. Whatever your budget is, they will fit it. From under $500 to, 100x that if you really want, 1000x that. They'll figure it out for you at Diamonds Direct. Beautiful quality pieces at every price point. And they're not going to upsell you. If you just say, hey, here's my budget. Here's what I'm looking for. Graduation gift. Diamonds Direct will take outstanding care of you because that's what Angie and her team have done for me for many years. Direct sourcing, no middlemen. You get access to high-quality diamonds at honest, straightforward pricing. And you will get the white glove experience that you would expect at a top-notch jewelry store. There's also a 110% lifetime upgrade guarantee. What does that mean? When you are ready to upgrade your diamond, you will receive 110% of your original purchase price towards that new selection. A signature perk that sets Diamonds Direct apart. Start shopping at diamondsdirect.com or head on down the road. Say hi at 119th and Row.
Stream Mundo in the morning on the KCMO Talk Radio app.
Another guy who hates Trump here, bumping back. Little Mellencamp for you. Good morning. Happy Friday. Well, it's not who I was thinking about before the break, but nice job there, Mark. Appreciate that. I'll get to Springsteen here in a second and what he did to open up his tour overseas. Love the guy's music, but he is just so clueless on this stuff. New poll out of his home state. Listen, for all the bad polling you hear about Trump, I did want to share this with you before I got to Springsteen. Trump has a higher approval rating in New Jersey than their Democratic governor. They've got a governor's race this year. They do off-year elections there, odd-year elections in that state. And Donald Trump has a higher approval rating at 47% in New Jersey than their Democrat governor, Phil Murphy, does, John. 7 points Trump's ahead of their governor.
Wow.
That's pretty
Amazing.
impressive. I know. So they had a Republican 4 years ago run. He came somewhat close by a blue state standard. And now the play from Republican grassroots activists is to try to flip New Jersey like they did Pennsylvania from blue to red in this last election. It will not be easy, but that's a sign right there that it's not impossible to do. It was a red state at one point. I mean, say what you want about Chris Christie. The guy might enjoy a extra donut or two more than he should have, but he was a Republican. Now, you can call him more of a moderate Republican, but listen, he was a Republican in a, what is now a solidly blue state. So the potential is there, John. There's no doubt about it.
When Trump was doing his Ozempic story, that was the first person I thought of he was alluding to.
Yeah.
There were a few clues later. I'm going, oh, no,
Not Christie.
Yeah.
Not Christie. He could use it, though. That's for damn sure. So that was a headline story yesterday I saw. And then, of course, the golden boy from that state, Springsteen, opens up his tour overseas. He's in the UK, and he just blasted Trump to open up the concert. He was here at the Sprint Center. Oh, that must have been 2+ years ago now. I think it was winter of 23. Yeah, it was like February of 23 he was here. We were there at Sprint Center. Love the guy's music, and I'm so glad. And he couldn't have done this stuff in Kansas City. But he has not done this in the United States. So, of course, he opens up his tour overseas, and he begins by ripping on Trump.
That won't bow down to their ideological demands. They're removing residents off American streets and without due process of law are deporting them to foreign detention centers and prisons. This is all happening now.
So he's a big Kilmar guy. How about, a big sign, 100 millionaires for Kilmar, something like that. He should be wearing and donning a shirt along those lines.
A majority of our elected representatives have failed to protect the American people.
He almost had it. Yeah, you're right. Joe Biden let 10 to 20 million people in. He failed to protect the American people from violent illegal immigrants and also fentanyl and everything else. You almost had it, Bruce. You were close, my man. You were like right on the precipice. Just stop right there and start singing. But he couldn't.
From the abuses of an unfit president and a rogue government.
Yeah, they go nuts over there in the UK. They're so proud of him. He would never do that in the United States. I really don't think. I know he's Trump triggered, but also what this is a guy who has spent 50 years singing about the working man and now has no idea why the working man and woman, but working man, is a diehard Donald Trump supporter. And if you can't even look in the mirror and try to understand why the people that you have been singing about, who traditionally were always just blue dog Democrats, completely flip parties, then the problem is the man in the mirror. The problem is not the voters who put Donald Trump in office, who just won the popular vote and also won 7 out of 7 swing states. That's on you, Bruce. It says a lot about somebody based on how they interact with people in public settings that they're not expected to be in. Who did that? One of the top YouTubers I'll tell you about on Trump's trip next.
KCMO, Kansas City's place to talk on 95.7 FM and 710 AM, a Cumulus media station. Call Mundo 913-408-7957. Now on 95.7 FM.
It says a lot about somebody based on how they interact with those that maybe they're not anticipating having to interact with. And I was so impressed. The president is on his way back to the United States after his highly successful trip to the Middle East that we'll talk about here in a minute. But he gave that big speech. We played it for you yesterday to troops in Qatar. Then he went to the UAE, where he wrapped up the trip early this morning. And Theo Von was there. You may know him. Trump did an interview with him when he was still a candidate in the fall. Big-time podcaster. One of the guys who a lot of people credit for helping Trump with the young male vote. Not only was it his policies, obviously, and Joe Biden being an utter disaster for young people, but it was also Trump's ability to connect with young voters, especially men, by going on podcasts like Joe Rogan and Theo Von. So Theo Von was a surprise guest at President Trump's, it's not a rally, but the speech he gave in Qatar. And there's a video that's gone viral. I'll post it on X at Pete Mundo. You can see it there. Of Theo Von taking pictures with the troops. And they are just loving it. I mean, they're on cloud nine. And Theo Von looks like he's having the best time of his life. Now, this is a guy who's taken thousands of selfies and photos, I'm sure, as his popularity has risen. But first off, he's a little goofy. And he is just smiling ear to ear with these men and women. And I thought to myself, there's a lot of people that would not handle it that way. There's a lot of people that would just say, I'm not sure this is for me. And he's just backslapping the men and women in law enforcement. He's having the time of his life. And they're just loving him for it. And I'm like, you know what? That says a lot about a guy to handle it that way. Now, as for Trump, he's over there and, talk about a guy who's having the time of his life. I mean, geez, I thought Trump was going to come back with the Arabic headgear with the, good time he was having overseas. I was like, man, Trump's, he's enjoying himself over there. I mean, they're like, worshiping the guy. They're rolling out the red carpet, literally and figuratively for him in all these countries. And he's just there trying to cut some deals. This is the thing about Trump with these trips overseas. I know some people get a little bothered by the fact that, these are some bad actors in the Middle East. And they are. There's no doubt about it. But where Trump's lack of ideology comes into play, and where I think it can be most valuable, is in situations like this, where he finds himself in a position to say, I understand. These are not the best people on the planet. That's a mild and polite way to put it. But my goal here, and the point of this entire trip, was to basically get them on the U.S.'s side versus being on China's side. There's two global superpowers that they can basically cozy up to right now. It can be us or it can be China. And you can either look at that and say, they're bad people who have done bad things with bad intentions. Let them go to China. Is that really the best move, though, for global safety and global prosperity? It's not.
You can't be glad-handing them in daylight, Pete. You got to send the money after midnight, right? On the Air Force plane.
Yeah, that's how it goes, right? But you look at this and you say to yourself, that's all Trump cares about. Can he get these guys to invest? And they've got a lot of money to invest. We know that. Look at like sports, live golf, everything else that in the case of the Saudis, they're investing in. Can we get these guys to play nice and try to at least invest their dollars in the United States, in our businesses, and not with the Chinese Communist Party. And that was the goal in large part of this trip.
Can't have these filthy petrodollars, though.
No.
It's more for the slave labor. I've got some Nikes I need to buy, right?
Yes.
Wear my Nikes to the protest of the petrodollar.
So here was Trump yesterday talking about this as he wrapped up his trip in Abu Dhabi, the capital of the United Arab Emirates.
We're making great progress toward the $1.4 trillion that UAE has announced that it intends to spend in the United States over the next couple of years. Yesterday, the two countries also agreed to create a path for UAE to buy some of the world's most advanced AI semiconductors from American companies, a very big contract. This will generate billions and billions of dollars in business and accelerate the UAE's plans to become a really major player in artificial intelligence. And I read where the oil and gas and oil is great, but you're going to have equally big and maybe even bigger at some point. You'll be surpassing it with AI and other businesses. So that's a great tribute to the job you've done here.
That was Trump yesterday. So he's just there to be a deal maker. He's not there because he's a political ideologue on either side who's got to go by the party script and the party narrative. He's just saying, how do we keep these guys out of the arms of China? And frankly, how do we make it so economically compelling for them to do business with the United States that then hopefully deters them from committing heinous acts of violence against their enemies? Where basically they're part of this, and I hate to use the word because it's not intended how some of you are going to interpret it, but how do we create this globalist environment where they have skin in the game? They are part of the global economy, and they aren't really beholden to maybe some of the third world ways of doing business that frankly has held them back for so long. On the text line, 913-408-7957, Pete, Arabs are some of the nicest people in the world. Their treatment of Trump was normal. I know Saudis, Qataris, all very, very nice people. You should stop calling them bad people. Well, I'm not calling the people bad people. I'm talking about the leaders. The texter adds, as for their leaders, they're not any worse than a lot of our leaders. All right. That's up for debate, okay?
I know.
That's very much debatable, but I get your point. I was not calling the people bad people. But you know and I know that these countries have been run by some very bad actors for a very long time. Okay? Now that's starting to change. We'll welcome that in the Western world with open arms. It's better for our country. It's better for the entire West if these countries are a little more developed. But what does that not mean? That does not mean that we want to be going down the road of nation building. Trump also seems to understand there are certain places this will work and certain places that this will not work. And understanding that as well is an important part of the equation. But if you can get the entire region to live in relative peace because there's economic incentive to do it, and that's what Trump was talking about. He's like, I want to make you guys even richer than you are. I want you to have a more diverse economy that's maybe less reliant on oil. And we can help you do that. That's why he was just talking there about the UAE and using our artificial intelligence companies to make them even wealthier. He's appealing to them as a businessman. And when you're a billionaire businessman and you've dealt with other billionaire businessmen, you speak their language. You know what makes them tick. And that's something that we've never had in the White House. We've never had somebody who can speak. Yeah, we've had rich people in the White House, right? But when you talk about people who are not politicians, who are not driven by the ideological moment of their political party or the political class, and they're just talking mano a mano, guy to guy, businessman to businessman, billionaire to billionaire, it's a different conversation. And that's what Trump brings to the table. And even Biden people privately were giving Trump credit for this trip. You do not want to miss. In case you didn't see what some of the top Democrats privately were saying about this trip that Trump just wrapped up, it is amazing. One of them referred to Biden as brain dead while complimenting Donald Trump.
Such a nice man.
I'm not kidding here. I'm not kidding. I will share that with you and get to your calls, 913-408-7957. Coming up next on KCMO Talk Radio, 95.7 FM, streaming on a Friday on the KCMO Talk Radio app. Missouri Governor Mike Kehoe will be here at 8:05. Talk about the Chiefs-Royals deal collapsing this week in Jeff City. If you're waking up right now and you're like, crap, I need a plumber, there's one guy to call, The Plumbing Pro here in Kansas City. I hope you don't, but listen, we're all going to need it at some point, and maybe that's you today. And if you want to check off all these boxes, reliability, professionalism, quality workmanship, transparency, customer service, The Plumbing Pro has been doing this for nearly 50 years in Kansas City, locally owned and operated. They have a very simple mission, and it's worked for them for almost 50 years, providing the best quality plumbing service at a reasonable cost. That's what the owner, Steve, will tell you he's been doing for nearly half a century. Started off with a $2,000 job, and now they've got a great small business here in Kansas City helping folks around the metro every single day. So when you need a plumber, you need The Plumbing Pro. That's theplumbingpro.com, theplumbingpro.com. Go to the website now, theplumbingpro.com.
On Friday's Guy Benson Show, House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer on some of his work, plus the big, beautiful bill. Progress report there. Coming up at 2 o'clock on KCMO.
All right. Well, Guy Benson will be here in Kansas City less than a month to go. Tickets are still available, but they're limited. I say we're down to our last 50 or so out of a couple hundred. So going to be a good time with Guy Benson. Meet and greet, dinner, drinks at Boulevard, the whole deal. Join us and buy your tickets now at KCMOTalkRadio.com. Mike Kehoe in 15 minutes. The New York Post wrote this after President Trump's trip yesterday. He's on his way home, wrapped up in the United Arab Emirates early this morning. They write here, President Trump's show-stopping trip to the Middle East, complete with lavish welcomes, diplomatic breakthroughs, and business deals worth an estimated $2 trillion, have left even Democrats favorably comparing him to former President Joe Biden, whose fading cognitive abilities and lack of stamina are being blamed for preventing similar accomplishments. A senior congressional aide told the New York Post yesterday, it's amazing what can be accomplished when the president isn't effing brain dead.
Come on, man.
Man, that is just straight as could be.
Mm-hmm.
One high-ranking Biden White House aide confided to the New York Post, the whole Middle East trip from Trump shows that for a lot of these negotiations, you do really need somebody who has that energy and level-headedness. How about this? Here's another quote. I'm the first person to say I do not agree with all of Trump's policies, especially some foreign policies. But when it comes to showing up and showing strength and power, I think his team and Trump do a really great job of that. These are all anonymous quotes from former Biden staffers and Democratic congressional aides to the New York Post yesterday. The brain dead one just kills me. I mean, that's just fantastic.
What are we talking about?
That's true. 913-408-7957. Mike is in Olathe. Hey, Mike, you're on KCMO. Good morning.
Hey, man. Good to talk to you. Oh, God, I sound like Harold Ford. Sorry. But I'm listening to you talk, and the more I'm listening, the more it's not even Biden we compare him to. It's the best of the best presidents we've had. This guy is stepping up in places and doing things that are helping the world, literally maybe providing peace globally that I don't know if anybody else on the planet that's ever even thought about being president can do. He is a unique dude. I almost get emotional watching him not because of the fanfare, but because he literally is doing this, and he's not doing it necessarily for himself. He may be loving it, but what he's doing it for the billions of people that live on the planet, and it's mind-boggling. Yet they can and great that they're coming out saying how Biden really was, because they knew it, even though everybody else did. But when you compare him to the best, the Reagans, and Obama never did much of anything, but even the good ones, he's still far ahead of all of them, doing things that it's just I don't know if people are understanding how amazing this really is.
You're right. And, he's starting to get some of that recognition. Newsweek wrote this yesterday, Mike. Donald Trump's odds of winning the Nobel Peace Prize are climbing. He now has the best odds to win this year's Nobel Peace Prize. And if he keeps this up with overseas dealings, if he can especially get something done with Ukraine, Russia, if he can continue to strive for peace in the Middle East, frankly, it shouldn't be close. I'm sure it will be closer than it should be because, well, it's Trump, but he should win this thing running away. And he'll say he doesn't care about it, but deep down, Trump would like to win a Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah, he wants the legacy, but you know what? He's earning it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I'm with you, Mike. Have a great weekend, my man. You're right. 913-408-7957. Some of you will scoff at that, but listen, Newsweek is no friendly publication to this guy at all. 4 U.S. presidents have won the Nobel Peace Prize. Teddy Roosevelt in 1906, Woodrow Wilson 1919, Jimmy Carter in 2002, and Obama in 2000. What did Obama win it for? I don't even remember. Being the first black president? I mean, is that it?
Nobody cares.
What I don't really remember. What could Obama have won it for? In 2009, it's his first year in office. Was that Obamacare year or was that 2010? Oh, my gosh. So he's up there right now. Trump's got the best odds, plus 650, 13-2 odds. Mark, you going to take that bet? You got a parlay maybe with Trump and the Nobel Peace Prize we can work out?
Yeah, that seems like a good one. I mean, it's not great money if you're doing it as an individual bet. So, yeah, you got to parlay it with something.
I know. You got to parlay like a 1-2 punch there or something like that and see what happens. The president's ahead of other nominees, including WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange. He is 7-1 odds, plus 700. And, there's a lot of people on that list. So we'll see. We'll have to watch it, and maybe Mark finds a parlay for us.
I could do Trump winning the Man of the Year or Person of the Year, whatever you want to call it. And I could do Chiefs futures Super Bowl winner, plus 700. Then that'll be a nice little parlay.
So a Trump Nobel Peace Prize combined with a Chiefs Super Bowl.
There you go.
In February.
Yeah.
You got to get a Taylor Swift angle in there. Got to figure out something. So we are going to talk to, in 10 minutes, Mike Kehoe. He is the governor of Missouri, and he will do his first interview here talking about what happened this week in Jefferson City. The news blew up on Tuesday that the state of Missouri and the legislature in their last week was looking to pass funding, state funding, for the 2 pro sports teams here in Kansas City. It would have also applied to the Cardinals, but the plan was to basically figure out a way the last week of session to get these 2 teams some state funding to keep them in the state of Missouri. And then it all blew up. It didn't work out. Why? What happened? A lot of behind-the-scenes infighting that has nothing to do with the actual issue of whether or not the state should help subsidize these 2 teams. It was about other legislation, abortion stuff, infrastructure funding, all these different things. But now the question becomes a simple one. Does this lack of movement drive these 2 teams to the state of Kansas? This morning, the Speaker of the House in Kansas, Dan Hawkins, was on KCMO. We had him on the show very early this morning at about 6:30. And here's the quote from Dan Hawkins on 95.7 FM. I don't think we're in a position to extend the Star Bond offer, which ends on June 30th. We still have 6 weeks to go, and we kind of expect to have a deal by the deadline. Dan Hawkins saying that right here on KCMO this morning. One of the leaders in Kansas expects to have a deal on the table for the Chiefs and the Royals. He says he thinks they can get both teams. We'll get Mike Kehoe's response to that next on 95.7 FM, KCMO. Out of nowhere this week, Chiefs and the Royals were back in the forefront of the action down in Jefferson City. Could not get it done. We now welcome on and say hello to the governor of the state of Missouri, Mike Kehoe, joining us on KCMO 95.7 FM and always streaming on the KCMO Talk Radio app. Governor, good morning. What happened this week in terms of these two teams not getting this deal done in the legislature? Why couldn't it happen?
Well, Pete, first of all, good morning. It's great to be on KCMO with you again. Well, we knew that it would likely require a special session. I should say almost every economic development package that's happened that's been massive since I've been let out to see what the response would be. As you know, in the House, it had a great vote, better than we really thought, to be honest with you, with 108 to 43 on the underlying bill. So met a little bit of resistance in from the Democrats in the Missouri State Senate. Unfortunately, I'm hopeful that they will regroup and understand this is a huge opportunity for Missouri, and we'll be calling them back in session to put this proposal before them.
So what's your timeline on calling that special session?
Well, you well know from talking to the folks from Kansas, there's a June 30th deadline here for the Star Bond proposal. I know there's a one-year extension. They don't intend to extend that, it sounds like. So obviously we need to get something done quickly. So we're hoping sometime in early June to ask the legislature to come back to consider this, again, a massive economic development proposal for our west side of the state.
Well, you mentioned, and this is Missouri Governor Mike Kehoe on KCMO Talk Radio, you mentioned some of the words that came out of the other side of the state line today. Kansas Speaker of the House, Dan Hawkins, was on with us early this morning. For those who missed it, here's what he said when I asked him about extending that Star Bond deal beyond June of this year to June of next year, which they can do. And here is what the Kansas Speaker of the House said, and then we'll get Missouri Governor Mike Kehoe's response.
I don't think we're really in a position to extend the Star Bond offer right now. We've still got 6 weeks or so to go before the end of the year, and I believe that the Commerce Department and the teams are in pretty good negotiations, and we kind of expect to have a deal by the time we get to that deadline.
Really? Okay, so you feel pretty confident right now that you can get something done here in the next few weeks. Do you feel better about one team or another at this point?
Yeah, actually, we feel pretty good about both teams.
That was Kansas Speaker of the House, Dan Hawkins, this morning on KCMO Talk Radio. Governor, how would you respond to him?
Well, I mean, the Chiefs and Royals are in a great position. They've got two states competing for their business, and for as a small business guy, I would love to be in their position where I have two competing offers. The Chiefs and Royals of Missouri agree with that and understand the economic impact that we have, and that we can codify in legislation our offer. And I believe if we get that done, we're in a very good position to keep those teams where they belong in Missouri. But, I appreciate Kansas trying hard. That's what life's all about. It's always about competition.
So you feel pretty good. I don't sense, and you're a cool customer there, Governor. I don't get a sense that you're going to be losing a lot of sleep, at least not yet, over this.
Never panic, Pete. It's a bad thing to do. Hey, look, it doesn't mean we're not taking it seriously. Our House and Senate leadership for months, literally, and along with our economic development team from DED and others, have been working on different proposals that we think make sense. I've been saying on this show for years, as a candidate and now as governor, we also have to make sure we do something that's good for Missouri taxpayers. It has to be a good return on investment. We believe we've found a balanced approach where it's very, very competitive for both teams. I've spoken as well personally with the ownership groups and owners of both teams in the last week, and I can tell you that they're going to do what businesses do. They're going to look at both offers. But I think if we can get ours through the legislature, we stand a pretty good chance in keeping them here in Missouri.
So, in the face of obviously research on both sides of this equation, and we've talked about this before when it comes to the economic development, do these deals drive it? You mentioned finding that balance. How do you understand balancing the economic impact versus, of course, the state involvement, and how this deal rides that fine line that can be a tricky one on both sides of the political aisle.
Well, sure. We're basically using a tool that we're modifying that we already have that's been very successful in our economic development efforts for lots of large projects across the state. That's what we're modifying. So we're not starting from scratch. We're modifying a tool that we have existently where we essentially would allow the teams to keep a portion of the income tax and earnings tax that they generate right now for the bond payments, along with some tax credit financing that we have through Missouri Development Finance Board, which I sat on for 6 years. So we have some good opportunities out there. And then the state also understands what it needs for our infrastructure, the things it needs to make sure these two teams have the infrastructure and the improvements around stadiums that they need. We know how to do this, and we're not starting from scratch. So I think that gives us a pretty good advantage to working with this. But again, we need the legislature to codify this offer, and both teams are looking very forward to us getting that done.
Two things I know, Governor, that caused some consternation this week. One, this House Bill 19 not getting back through the House. That's a big infrastructure deal, and there's some sentiment that how do we pass money for teams if we can't pass funding for, crime labs in rural parts of Missouri? And also the abortion issue obviously bothered a lot of Democrats. So politically, Republicans and Democrats may have their own reasons for why they may not want to pass this bill in a special session. How do you make sure both sides are happy to move the ball forward on this Chiefs-Royals deal?
Well, listen, you have to, it's easy to get into the legislature environment and throw everything into a big kettle and mix it all up together, but they really are standalone issues. The economic development impact we're talking about for Chiefs and Royals, we've been talking about for over a year, right? And so that's nothing new to the table. It's kind of a standalone offer for an economic development package. It'd be no different if we said our widget manufacturers thinking about moving to another state, and we're not going to do anything because we're mad about House Bill 19. Look, there was a lot of great things in House Bill 19 that I personally thought would be very helpful for the state, but the House also felt like it was good fiduciary to make sure we kept a certain amount of money on the bottom line for our budget. So I'm sure that conversation will continue. It's past its constitutional deadline, but there's a lot of people in the building on both sides of the House and Senate talking about what pieces in that we can still look at. To your point, crime labs, other things that were in there were important infrastructure pieces. So we'll look at that separately from what we look at from the Chiefs and Royals. And as far as the proposition or Amendment 3 fix that went through the Senate at the end of the week, it's a women's health issue. The Amendment 3 issue that was put on Missouri's ballot barely passed. It was $32 million from an outside group from the literally East Coast liberal fundraisers from the eastern side of our country. It did not have appropriate women's health protection measures in there. It had a lot of problems with that as far as it came to women's health. And the House and Senate made it a priority to not only protect innocent life, but also protect women's health. And that will be a question that now goes back before the voters. And they will be able to decide if that's a more appropriate way to approach women's health.
Governor, have you talked to leadership with the Chiefs of the Royals in the wake of this news this week?
Yes.
And how did they respond?
Well, we've been talking to them the whole time. So, we've been keeping them updated that this is something that we'd like to do. Look, like I said, they're a business. They're going to keep their cards close to their chest on this one, and we understand that. I think they're wanting to see what our proposal looks like compared to other proposals that are out there. So we've had, I would say, very productive conversations with them as well.
So your date for that special session, you mentioned early June. Is that 2nd, 9th? Is there a day you've got in mind for that yet?
I'll work with the leadership on both sides to spend time back home with their families and in their districts, their constituents and their businesses, et cetera. But again, this will be the largest economic development package and investment the state of Missouri has ever seen, ever. So it's big.
Last thing, with the passing of former Governor and U.S. Senator Kit Bond this week, is now the Governor of Missouri, Mike Kehoe. What should Kit Bond's legacy be in the Show Me State?
Well, I tell people all the time, if there was a picture of somebody in the dictionary next to the definition of statesman, it would be Kit Bond. Kit was a super good friend of Claudia and I, and he was an incredible mentor to me, But when I say that, Pete, you'll hear hundreds, maybe thousands of people, both in public policy and not in public policy, that will say Kit Bond was a friend and a mentor. That's an incredible legacy to leave. I've never met anybody, I should say, both in my private life before I was in politics, and I knew Kit then as our governor and as our U.S. Senator, and now in my public life. I've never heard anybody say that Kit wasn't enjoyable to work with. He had that quick wit. He was committed to Missouri. He loved Missouri and was always trying to find a solution, just like some of the ones we've been talking about, to move Missouri forward. And his legacy will be hard for anybody, I would say impossible for anybody to ever fill or replicate.
Governor, thank you so much. It sounds like we'll have plenty more to talk about in the next few weeks, and we look forward to chatting with you again soon. Have a great weekend.
You bet, buddy. Thank you so much for having me on again, and you have a great weekend as well.
You as well. That is Mike Kehoe, the governor of the state of Missouri, on KCMO Talk Radio. Not sweating what Kansas Speaker Dan Hawkins said this morning here on KCMO about Kansas feeling good about their chances to land not just one, but both of these two teams, and also announcing he will call a special session for early June. Now, this is different than what we heard yesterday from Mike Searpoy, who is a Jackson County state senator, who said he thought September for a special session because of some of the animosity from the Senate side this week. But Kehoe knows he's got a June 30th deadline. The Star bonds end. Kansas is not going to extend the offer another year. They could. Dan Hawkins said they're not going to. So he knows he's got to move this thing. And as he called it, the largest economic development package in the state of Missouri history. So it's up to him. It's up to his leadership to really get this thing done. That's what's going to get this across the finish line, is what it seems like on the Missouri side of the state line. 913-408-7957 is how you join us on a Friday morning on KCMO Talk Radio. Our feature Friday guest, speaking of the Chiefs, is Bill Maas, newly inducted Chiefs Hall of Famer, will be here at 9 o'clock on KCMO Talk Radio. Do not miss that. The President of the United States has just responded to the James Comey Instagram post. Oh, boy. You know this is going to be good. I have actually not heard the audio yet. It just dropped. We'll play it next on KCMO Talk Radio.
Hey, it's Kevin Keatsman. Stick around. I'm coming up at 10 o'clock right after Pete Mundo on KCMO 95.7 FM.
We've got a response from the President of the United States to this James Comey saga. The former FBI director was accused of calling for violence against President Trump in a since-deleted Instagram post. Comey put up an Instagram post of seashells, and he says, "Cool shell formation on my beach walk." This was yesterday. And it showed the numbers 8647. Now, how is 86 interpreted? 86 is interpreted as basically an ejection or a rejection. But in slang, it can mean to kill. 47, obviously, is the president of the is the president of the United States, who is the 47th, 45th, and 47th president of the United States. So now what's going on is the Secret Service is investigating former FBI Director James Comey. He deleted the Instagram post, and he wrote a follow-up post. And he said, "I posted earlier a picture of some shells I saw today on a beach walk, which I assumed were a political message. I did not realize some folks associate those numbers with violence." Are we really going to do the whole, just stumbled upon shells that happen to show the numbers 8647? He didn't say, he lined up the shells like he's an MSNBC wine mom, which he clearly did. The shells didn't just show up like that, right? They didn't just, I've been on a lot of beaches, blessed to have been on a lot of beaches. I've never seen shells magically line up to put together the numbers, really any numbers, but 8647. What a massive coincidence. It's like walking on the beach and being like, wow, there's a bunch of shells that spell out James Comey's a massive tool bag. I know. Whoa, what are the odds?
Talk about a bombshell.
That doesn't happen. So Trump's doing an interview with Bret Baier. It is airing tonight on Fox, but they just dropped this clip of Trump responding to this James Comey deal.
He knew exactly what that meant. A child knows what that meant. If you're the FBI director and you don't know what that meant assassination. And it says it loud and clear. Now, he wasn't very competent, but he was competent enough to know what that meant. And he did it for a reason, and he was hit so hard. Because people like me, and they like what's happening with our country. Our country's become respected again, and all this. And he's calling for the assassination of the president.
Obviously, he apologized and said he doesn't.
Well, he
wasn't
apologized
calling
because he
for
was
violence. But
look, he's a very bad.
What do you want to see happen?
What
do you want to see happen?
I don't want to take a position on it because that's going to be up to Pam and all of the great people. But I will say this: I think it's a terrible thing. And when you add his history to that, if he had a clean history, he doesn't. He's a dirty cop. He's a dirty cop. And if he had a clean history, I could understand if there was a leniency. But I'm going to let them make that decision.
All right, that's Trump this morning. Obviously, no love lost there between the president and his former FBI director, who he fired back in 2017, James Comey, who actually went to the same high school as me. Now, he's much older, but he is, I guess you would say, the most notorious graduate of my high school, Northern Highlands Regional High School. And I'm embarrassed to say that, but it is a little tidbit that I suppose I could do. Like when you're at a new event and you got to go in a circle, give us a fun fact about you. Well, I went to the same high school as the tool bag James Comey, who's a big seashell guy. And, wine mom.
Dirty cop, that's the guy.
Yeah. Went to the same high school as that dirty cop scumbag, bad man, James Comey. He's not wrong about that part. All right, Wes and Gladstone, go ahead. You got a minute, big dog.
Yeah, it's not going to happen, but I'd love to see that smug expression knocked off of that Comey SOB's face. I mean, if you'd have done that to Biden, they'd have hit your house at 3 a.m. with a SWAT team and drugged you out of there and gone through your wife's underwear drawer and mislabeled a bunch of crap and pulled it out of your house, man. He needs to be charged. It may sound petty, but calling for the assassination of Trump, This crap needs to end. No more severed heads being pulled up and shown on X, and none of that crap, man. It needs to be done. It needs to be done to him because he thinks he's above the law. He thinks he's the smartest guy in the room.
Oh,
and
well.
Pete, I don't care what you say. You're the most what was the term you used? The most nefarious alum of that high school is always going to be Pete Mundo.
Thank you, Wes. I guess I'll take that. I'll take that as a compliment on a Friday. I appreciate
Such a nice
that.
man.
You can smell the smugness coming off of James Comey through the television and through an Instagram post. That is true. You're right about that. 913-408-7957. Buy, sell, hold is coming up in 15 minutes as well on KCMO Talk Radio.
It's Mundo in the Morning. Now on FM at 95.7. Set a preset on your radio. KCMO Talk Radio.
Well, the president responding to this James Comey drama after the former FBI director is now under investigation by the Secret Service. You just heard it at the bottom of the hour from Fox News after Comey put up an Instagram picture of seashells on the beach. And that's, I got to think about that word before I say it. Seashells on the beach. That show the numbers 8647. In mob terms, 86 means 8 miles out, 6 feet under. So there is a slang for 86 that means to kill. The official definition of 86 is to basically remove, eject, reject, whatever. 47, obviously, about President Trump. Comey deleted that post and then went on to say, I had no idea how that would be interpreted. Now, do I think anything's going to happen to James Comey? No, I don't. That's my prediction. Do I think that Trump wants to make Comey sweat a little bit here? Sure. I mean, there's definitely no love lost. And you know as well as anybody, if this had happened the other way around, I mean, they'd be sent to the gulag, right? You did this to Biden, forget it, man. So there's definitely a double standard at play here. I don't deny that for a second. What was James Comey going for? I don't think that, as smug as he is, I don't believe that James Comey is genuinely dumb enough to put up an assassination attempt against the president. I just don't. Do I think he interpreted it as we got to get rid of this guy? Yes. I wish he would just say that instead of doing the whole, I had no idea what this meant. I can't believe it. I just stumbled upon these shells. It's like, dude, you didn't stumble upon the shells. Look at these things. And the 86 and 47 have a gap between them. It's not like he's spelling out 8,647. The number 86 was clear. The space, the 47 was clear. And they happen to be in different seashell colors as well. So that's notable here too. So I'm pretty sure we all knew what he was going for. Do I think he genuinely was calling for some kind of assassination attempt? No, I don't. You can say that's naive, but I don't buy it. Am I fine with James Comey sweating here? Yeah, sure. Sign me up for that.
They need to visit him about 3 a.m. tomorrow morning.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that. I would be. Let's go to John in Kansas City. Hey, John.
Good morning, Pete. How are you doing
I'm
today?
well. Happy Friday.
Thank you. Hey, I just wanted to say what a bunch of crap for him to come out and say that he knows nothing about what's going on. Give me a break. Here's the deal. When you look at his arrogance that he is able to make a comment like that and completely deny it, basically just tells you that he has nothing to fear. That's how he was with the last administration. And the corruption that goes on. Whenever I heard this, I immediately went to, I think it's Butler, Pennsylvania, with the assassination attempt on Trump and all the omissions that took place with the Secret Service and everything that went on. That, being a cop for 30 years, I know for a fact that none of that stuff would have ever happened. So there was something behind the scenes that was going on. And you know what? With Comey, that just solidifies everything that went on. If you had a doubt, now that he was part of everything. So that's all I got to say.
Yeah, that's fair, John. I mean, listen, if there was ever a doubt that Comey's a bad faith actor, this should erase any of those doubts. You're right about that.
Correct.
Thank you, my man. Have a great weekend. Appreciate you. 913-408-7957. Jeff is in Shawnee. Hey, Jeff, good morning. You're on KCMO.
Hey, great show. Hey, the smugness, you are right on the counter on this one, man. With Clooney and Comey and Springsteen, man. John probably remembers this. I stood in line at Capers Corner in 1982 for 8 hours to get Springsteen tickets. I'm one of the biggest Springsteen fans. I feel like I'm in Godfather right now and telling Guido, I knew it was you, man. I mean, I'm so disappointed, man. He would have never pulled that off in New Jersey, man. And I listen to XM radio all the time. I listen to Springsteen all the time, but it's like, Fredo, man, I knew you were the one, man. I feel so gutted. I mean, he sold his whole, album thing for $500 million. Hey, if you feel so bad for the working man, hey, man, put on some free concerts.
I
You got
know.
plenty
And
of
I was,
options.
listen.
Don't go to England. But I'm the biggest fan. It's killing me, man. My favorite song is Jungle Land and Racing in the Streets.
Jungle Land. That's an
up.
all-timer there. That's an all-timer. I'll give you that. That's fantastic. And you're right. And earlier, so you're mad at Comey for this whole deal. We played it last hour. Springsteen opens up his tour in the UK, ripping Trump and ripping the USA. I agree. He'd never do that here in the States. And you're also right to note the guy sold his music catalog for $500 million. And I'm telling you right now, when I saw him at Sprint Center 2 years ago here, that was not a free show. Okay, that wasn't.
When you're talking about the working man and the cheapest ticket's $200, dude, you ain't for the working man no more. You're smug. You got all this money. It's FU money, man. Let's get it figured out. FU money. He's done.
Yeah, it's
But
double
he's breaking
FU
my
money.
heart.
That's what that
Breaking
is.
my heart.
Thank you,
Breaking
Jeff.
my heart. Take care.
Yeah, smugness seems to be a common theme amongst many of these folks, whether it's Comey or Springsteen. But people are backing off a little bit. I mean, you're seeing people admit that Trump is coming off a great trip. And I don't like this Comey thing is great for what we do. It's great for talk radio, and media is going to be all over it. But I don't want it to take away from this overseas trip that has really just been and was lights out. Trump's now back or coming back to the States as we speak. It was a fantastic, fantastic trip. And you even have people on the other side of the aisle who are admitting that. New York Post has a story here quoting anonymous, high-ranking Biden White House aides. One saying, "It's amazing what can be accomplished when the president isn't bleeping brain dead."
Again, a Biden aide, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Former Biden aide.
Yeah.
Biden aide.
Another Biden aide saying this whole Middle East trip shows that for a lot of these negotiations, you really do need somebody who has the energy and the level-headedness. Another anonymous quote. Here's a third one. Anonymous quote after Trump's trip. "I'm the first person to say I don't agree with all of Trump's policies, especially some foreign policies, but when it comes to showing up and showing strength and power, I think his team and Trump do a great job of that," says this other anonymous former Biden aide to the New York Post.
Makes you wonder about all those that couldn't keep up with him.
Yeah.
So they said.
Yeah. So
right?
he's up late in the night.
That should cast serious doubt about those who couldn't keep up with him.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. And before we get to buy, sell, hold here, a new Truth Social just dropped from the president. Uh-oh.
Coming every quarter hour.
Man, he must be bored on Air Force One. I don't know what else to make of this. Here it is. Within the last 10 minutes from the President of the United States on Truth Social. Has anyone noticed that since I said, quote, all caps, I hate Taylor Swift, she's no longer, quote, all caps, hot, question mark.
Mark and I were debating hot.
Yeah.
What did he mean? So he can't take the 86 defense on this one.
No, I think he meant, well, I think this is the beauty of the Post.
Yes.
It can be interpreted in a couple of
for
ways.
Eric.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is left up to the interpreter. And when you complain at him, he's going to say, that's in your mind.
Well, yeah. And this is where I will admit, like the James Comey thing, there is a little bit of faux outrage. Listen, I'm not taking Comey's side on this. The guy's a total goober. But considering Trump is the all-time social media troll, and he leaves a lot of his posts up to interpretation, I'm not sure that you can sit there without a shadow of a doubt and say, but Comey! Comey was trying to kill me. Like, of all the people, I'm trying to be fair here, of all the people that can't really get away with that, it's probably this guy, and this is a great example of it with this post on Taylor Swift.
Be sure to have both sides of the conversation at the bar tonight, folks.
Yes, please. Buy, sell, hold is coming up next on KCMO. 3 questions as we roll into the 9 o'clock hour. Bill Maas, new Chiefs Hall of Famer, Ring of Honor member, is going to be here at 9 for our Feature Friday on KCMO. Now, you're sitting here right now, you're going to the office on a Friday, and you're like, man, I know this AI thing is coming. What do I do about it? Here's what you do about it. You sign up for the free seminar that is being hosted by Centric here in Kansas City, right off State Line Road, on Thursday, May 29th. Go to centric.com/AI, and you can attend. You got to RSVP, though. It's totally free for their AI and Automation for Business live demo, Thursday, May 29th at 8 a.m. Space is limited, so you got to sign up right now. They had about 50 folks out there in March for one of these, and now they just want to teach you, first off, what you're missing out on with AI and how they can potentially help you. And this stuff is not nearly as expensive as you might think, and your competitors are using it. So you can either get left behind or you can learn the way of the future with this artificial intelligence stuff. So you got to go to centric.com/AI. That's CENTRIQ.com/AI to sign up now.
On Friday's Guy Benson Show, House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer on some of his work, plus the big, beautiful bill progress report there. Coming up at 2 o'clock on KCMO.
Tickets still on sale for the Guy Benson event. He's coming to Kansas City on June 12th. We are looking forward to a great show, meet and greet, dinner, drinks at Boulevard. Buy your tickets now. Only a handful left at KCMOTalkRadio.com.
Mugshot sold separately.
Yes, that is exactly
What's
right.
Christina's her name?
Yes, the
Yep.
producer.
Yes.
Yeah, that'll be a doozy. We're going to the Royals-Yankees game the night before the event, so that has been confirmed as well. It is that time of the week. Let's do it.
It's time to buy, sell,
How about it in 12 and a half, 15?
and hold.
All right, John, what do you got for me, bro?
Buy, sell, or hold. The Royals and or the Chiefs are heading to Kansas.
If I sell, or excuse me, if I hold, it's a cop-out. No one wants to hear me hold that, all right? You got to give an opinion on this one.
Yeah, no hold. Buy or hold. Buy or sell.
Buy or sell. I'm selling that. Okay? We have broken a lot of news this morning on this front. You heard from Speaker of the House Dan Hawkins on the Kansas side, who said this morning that he believes they are close to a deal for both teams to come over to Kansas. Here was Speaker of the House Dan Hawkins this morning on KCMO, but then I'll explain why I'm selling.
I don't think we're really in a position to extend the Star Barnes offer right now. We've still got 6 weeks or so to go before the end of the year, and I believe that the Commerce Department and the teams are in pretty good negotiations, and we kind of expect to have a deal by the time we get to that deadline.
Really? Okay, so you feel pretty confident right now that you can get something done here in the next few weeks. Do you feel better about one team or another at this point?
Yeah, actually, we feel pretty good about both teams. I know that the Royals have been in talks for certainly quite a while, and I think they're probably right at the edge of getting something done. The Chiefs have come on very, very strong in talks with the Commerce Department over the last several months.
That was Kansas Speaker of the House Dan Hawkins this morning on KCMO. Then we had on Governor Mike Kehoe, and he says he's calling a special session for Missouri in June to pass the Chiefs-Royals funding bill that got through the House this week, but obviously went nowhere in the Senate, and then they wrapped up for the week. So I'm going to sell these two teams going to Kansas because I believe in Governor Kehoe's leadership to get a deal done on the Missouri side. And I feel like this is where the teams want to be. This Kansas deal has been on the table for a year now. If this deal was all that it's been hyped up to be, they would have just walked by now. It hasn't changed. Everybody knows what the deadline has been forever. It's kind of like, from a dating perspective, you're holding out for somebody. The Chiefs and Royals are holding out for a reason. If Kansas had everything that they wanted, both teams separately, they would be gone. What would they be waiting for? The Missouri offer is not going to be all that much better or all that much more compelling. You know what you're getting. Chiefs stay at Truman. Royals either go downtown or go up to the Northland. That's it. I mean, we know what the options are on the Missouri side. And if the money was that great from Kansas and the locations were that fantastic, why would they still be sitting here with a couple of weeks left waiting for Missouri to call a special session to then go out there and see what that offer looks like? You know what the offer is, right? We know what it's going to look like if it passes. So if Kansas was that compelling, why would they be sitting there waiting on Missouri? And that's the logic that I keep coming back to, John.
All right, buy, sell, or hold. Mark's Parlay as they host the Cardinals this weekend. Specifically, it opens up tonight.
6:40 first pitch at the K.
Fireworks Friday. Bobblehead night.
There you go. What do you got for me there, Parlay Van Sickle?
All right. I got the Royals winning the game, so that's going to be the first thing on the parlay.
And they've lost 4 or 5, so that's a big stretch right there. Go ahead.
They do play better at home. I will say that.
Yep.
All right. We've got Cole Reagan's 8 strikeouts. He's done that in every game except for the one game. Every game except for the one game that he left early.
Okay.
So I like that one. Bobby Witt Jr., he doesn't have great numbers against the starter tonight, but he plays really well at home. So I have him getting 1 hit tonight. Salvador Perez, I have him getting one hit as well. He has solid numbers against tonight's starter.
And what's that payout?
10 to win 50-ish.
Ooh, that's not as great as I thought from an odds perspective there, Mark.
Yeah, just the Royals are favored to win tonight.
Oh, they are?
So-
Okay. All right. You know what, Mark? It's time for you to hit one of these. Let's buy it, baby. Let's go. There you go. I'm in, Mark. I'm in with you, big dog.
Let's go.
Let's go. That's nice. That's real nice. I like it. All right. What's next there, John, on buy, sell, hold?
Peace be with you here, brother. Buy, sell, or hold. You make it through the weekend as a solo dad of 3 girls. I'll add the girls on there.
Come on. I got to buy that. I got confidence in myself here.
All right.
I got a little pep in my step.
I'll just say from my experience, it's easier to run boys and get them tired by the end of the day, and then you can manage it. I don't know if you can do that with girls. That's in my experience.
You know, as someone who grew up one of 3 boys, the thing that I still am trying to figure out is the emotional swings that boys just, at least I don't recall us having.
No.
And that's the part where I'm learning every day. No one's a perfect parent, but I am navigating the emotional side of this every single day. And that's the part that I may struggle with the most this weekend on solo dad duty that starts right around lunchtime today and runs through Sunday night. So it's going to be doozy.
Plan your work and work your plan.
Yeah. Great advice there, John. That's like a Kamala line. That's what that is. Thanks for the Kamala
There's
Harris
wisdom
quote.
there, brother.
Yeah.
You got to know what time Beauty and the Beast starts, Little Mermaid. Those have starting times, and you work towards those.
So it is time for me to do what I have been doing every day.
Every day.
And that time is every day.
Yes.
That's right. That's what I need to do. So thank you for that, Kamala Anthony. I appreciate those words of wisdom here on KCMO Talk Radio on a busy Friday morning. I think I'll make it. But if you see white smoke coming out of my house this weekend, it will not have anything to do with my Villanova buddy, Pope Leo. They will have nothing in common. It will be an SOS is what it will be.
Alert the authorities.
Yeah, somebody turned on the oven and all hell broke loose and I didn't know about it. It could be any of the above.
Trying to help, Dad. I thought I'd get started.
Yeah, Dad, you don't even know how to cook. I'm just trying to help you cook around here, says my 6-year-old. Just what I need. I got it. I can fire up some chicken nuggets in the air fryer. I'm not that incompetent. Okay, well, coming up next, buy, sell, holds wrapped up. Bill Maas, he is the newest inductee into the Chiefs Ring of Honor. He will be here for our Feature Friday segment. We'll talk yes, his life, his history, staying in Kansas City after his playing days, and more next. Every Friday, we like to wrap up the week with an in-studio half-hour guest, and we are happy to make it Bill Maas, new inductee to the Chiefs Ring of Honor, joining us on KCMO. Bill, good morning. Thanks for being here, my friend.
Pete, thanks for having me in, buddy. You know, I'm a regular listener.
I appreciate that very much.
I flip back and forth real quick with sports, of course.
Yeah. Well, hey, we're kicking their butts on this Chiefs Royal story. I'm just going to say that much, especially this morning.
Oh, you guys are on it. Yeah, no doubt about it. That's
crazy.
Interesting. Crazy stuff.
We'll get to all that, but let's start with you. Ring of Honor inductee, that was what, maybe 2-3 weeks ago now?
Yeah.
How's it feel, and how was that moment for you?
Oh, Pete, my whole life has changed.
I'm sensing sarcasm.
Yeah, I don't have to cut the lawn anymore. My wife does it.
Yeah.
No.
You're what? You're the 50th person in the Ring of Honor? There's not a lot of Chiefs to be in that Ring of Honor.
Since 63, over 3,000 players have come through. So, you know, it's pretty cool. You know, a lot of teams do things differently. The Chiefs really approach it as a family kind of deal. They have probably the largest Hall of Fame next to the Packers, I think. But they go out of their way to make sure that everybody feels good about themselves and being a part of the Chiefs organization, no matter at what level you are. Yeah.
So, what for you? Who called you? How'd you find out the news that you were going to be in the Ring of Honor?
So yeah, that was kind of funny. I was actually showing a building, and I got a phone call, and I didn't recognize the number. It was someplace in Texas, and I'm like, oh, I'll let it go. And they left a message, and I got done. I listened to the message. It was Clark Hunt. And I was thinking, wow, what does he want? Maybe he wants that land up at Shoal Creek on 435. I have 500 acres up there. Maybe he wants to build a stadium up there, right?
Yeah. That's where my mind would go, too.
And I called back, and he got on, and I was in my car. And when he told me, I was like, I got emotional. I really did. I said, hang on a second, man. I got to pull over. And I pulled over into a shopping center parking lot, and we had a conversation. But yeah, it was really something else. It was moving. It means a lot. When a guy tells you, hey, we want to tell you that you're our 2025 Ring of Honor recipient, that was powerful.
Now, I'm sure it's something that was always in the back of your mind, right? But when you finally get the call, I mean, you're not losing sleep over it, but listen, you had a great career here. And
actually, I did lose a little sleep over it.
You were losing sleep over it, leading up to the call or after the call?
Hey, you know, you think about those things because when you're competitive and you're in that business, you're always like measuring yourself.
Yes.
Like, where am I? Whether you're playing as a team or where, you want to know where you are. Accolades and honors and those things are all great, but then it comes to that time, like, was I good enough?
Yeah.
Or did I just think I was that good? You know? And so, it's kind of, it puts a validation on what your thoughts were and what you think of your career.
So what was the event like itself?
Well, we didn't have – they're going to do something – now that the schedule's out, they're going to pick a game that's going to be Alumni Weekend.
Okay.
And they're going to honor me at halftime of a game and unveil my name up on the ring at halftime. So that'll be sometime this fall, which will be an exciting time, and I can bring my family in and they can be there. So that'll be really neat. But over the draft weekend, they had a dinner over at Arrowhead at a club that I didn't even know exists. They have like a speakeasy in that place.
Really?
Yeah. It was like, what?
Now I know where I got to figure out where to go next time.
Yeah,
I'm there.
it was really cool. And they had a chef come in, and they said, hey, invite some of your teammates. And I did. Most of the defensive line guys, and Mike Bell, Art Still, Neil Smith, and Ken Kramer, Dino Hackett came in. And they had a real nice dinner for us. And then they put us on a bus the next day, and we went out to the chicken and pickle deal because they couldn't do the fan fest at Arrowhead given the construction inside.
Oh, yeah.
But, it was a real nice occasion. They, like I said, they do everything. When they do it, they do it top notch.
Now, you come here in 1984, and you've now been here for 40-plus years. They can do the math themselves.
Yeah.
But
long time.
What made you say to yourself, hey, playing for the Chiefs, and like a lot of former players for the Chiefs and the Royals, I'm staying here in Kansas City, even though you're from suburban Philadelphia?
Right. Yeah. Well, two things. One, of course, when you're entrenched in the city and you make it home for the 10 years that you're here, you just become part of the city. You get involved with things. I was doing radio and television, and had football camps and all the different things over the course of time. My kids are entrenched in school, and they have friends, and there really wasn't a thought about it. I mean, Kansas City was home, and the people of Kansas City, I think it says enough. The Chiefs Kingdom, especially your friendships you build at the times that you're here. I think that's why you see so many Chiefs and Royals, like you said, keep their home here and want to live in Kansas City. It's great. You're 2 hours anywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the middle of the state, in the middle of the country, and it's just a great place to be, and the people are outstanding.
Did you have any question when you retired as to whether or not you were going to stay, or was it just assumed and you knew you were staying?
I really did. I thought about it a few times. Like when you're done playing, you're like, well, what am I going to do now? But I was fortunate enough. I worked at Channel 4 and worked in radio the whole time I was playing, and I transitioned, and I got the opportunity to start broadcasting again real quickly, and I got into broadcasting at games with Fox, and that took me all over the world with NFL Europe, and then living in L.A., doing studio shows, and it's back and forth. But, yeah, so I was here. My home was here, no matter where I traveled and what I did during the weekends.
So what about the moment you knew you were done? Was there a moment at the end of your career when you're like, all right, I got to check out? This game has passed me by. Is there a moment where guys have that
Yeah, I think
time?
there is. For me, I always go back and say when it got tougher to get up off the ground. You know?
Yeah, that's good.
I mean, it really
Yeah.
was. Your injuries pile up, and you used to just throw yourself at people and hit and bounce up off the turf like it didn't mean anything. Then you got up to one knee and one hand and push yourself up and take a big and go back to the huddle. Yeah, you kind of think about it. But I'll tell you that I'd started every game that I played in. And so at this time when I retired in 1994, they started platooning defensive linemen. I didn't what? Well, if I've got to just rotate, then I'm not good enough to play anymore. I was thinking in my head. And I said I could have probably milked it for a couple more years, but I said, you know what, I'm just going to go. But I didn't. No one ever sat down and say, "Hey, this is what the league's doing now. We're going to this trend. We're going to rotate defensive linemen because the passing game is becoming so much more of the game itself. We're just going to pass rush. You go these two series. They're going to go the next two series. You rotate in, rotate out, and I didn't see that or understand that coming. I played every snap, every down, every game, and that change was like, man, that coupled with the injuries, it keep piling up. I just thought it was time to go, and I don't regret it. I didn't think that it didn't matter that I didn't play another 2 years or whatever I thought I could have got out of it, but I just moved on with my life.
Yeah, and clearly a lot of success. Obviously, you mentioned the broadcasting, now working with our mutual friend David Block on the real estate side, and things are going great for you. So when you look on your post-playing days, what was that moment like when you retired? And for the first time since you're probably, a kid, you're not preparing for the next season of football. It sounds, and a lot of pro athletes say it's difficult. So what was it like for you?
Really hard. And anyone that says it's difficult is just fluffing it. It's hard because that's what you do since you were a kid. You're doing the same thing over and over and over again, and that's a part of your fiber. And all of a sudden you turn around, you're in your mid-30s when you're retiring from one and looking to another avenue to do something. There's a big question mark that hangs over everybody. I don't care what they say or what plans they have or what. I mean, it's a big transition from the locker room to whatever you're going to do next. Because here's the thing about what I was doing. I knew my opponent because he was right across from me. I could see him. I could watch film on him. I could study him. I knew what I was competing against. When you go out into the workforce, you have no idea what you're competing against.
That's a great point.
You can get blindsided from anywhere. You may be going on a good path. You may think you got your business going in this direction. Boom, you get blindsided by somebody that's been targeting you or your position or your company or whatever it may be, and you weren't prepared for it. And so to me, that was one of the things that was eye-opening to me.
And you've got a blank slate. I mean, to use that analogy, you don't even know what sport you're technically playing.
No, absolutely not.
I mean, is it figure skating or football? What am I doing here?
Yeah, you have to find out and figure out how to hit differently than you know how to hit.
Yeah. Wow, that's a fascinating angle. We've got Bill Maas here. He is the new inductee into the Chiefs Ring of Honor. We're going to take a quick break with him, come back, and talk much more about his career, his post-playing days, and also just get his thoughts on the future of Arrowhead Stadium. All coming up on KCMO.
If it's happening in KCMO, it's on KCMO 95.7 FM. Here's Pete Mundo.
We are in studio with the newest inductee to the Chiefs Ring of Honor. Bill Maas is here on KCMO Talk Radio. So, Bill, what's it like when you're at Arrowhead Stadium? Obviously, you were there for the resurgence of the team after some dark times. How loud does it really get when you are on the field at Arrowhead Stadium?
Well, I can tell you I have tinnitus in my ears to this day. Yeah, and I don't know where else I could have gotten it from.
Wow.
That stadium, if you're talking about the decibel point, you've seen the footage of John Elway and the crowd noise where it was deafening. You couldn't hear. It was fun. It definitely gave the defense a shot of energy. But yeah, that crowd noise, it's for real.
When you're on that line of scrimmage then, and the crowd is that loud, and obviously you're on defense, the home crowd's cheering for you, what is the offensive line and the quarterback doing in that moment to try to hear the quarterback snap the ball?
Well, they've changed. They try to do the silent count now and do it by rhythm.
Yeah.
They look in at the center, and he'll tilt the ball one way, and then they all get down, they're ready, and it's a count like 1, 2, or they hold hands. But, you could see the look in their eyes when they used to be, before they got to those things, when they had to try to hear the quarterback's cadence. They couldn't hear anything.
Yeah.
And it was frustrating for them. They'd come to the line of scrimmage, they're looking back, and then they would jump off sides. They didn't know. It was just a matter of guessing for them. But it was fun for us.
How does it sound different now that, you go to games, you're in the crowd? Is it a different sound in the crowd versus being on the field? How is that different, if at all?
Well, I think being on the field, you're in the middle of it. So I think it just comes down from all angles, and that's where the power is. And I think that's where they measure that noise from too, because that's where it's most potent, I think. When you're on one side or the other, you're just kind of in the mix of it. You can't hear the other side of the noise. You're just hearing noise around you. But in the middle of the field, it's powerful. Now, I've been on the other side of that too.
Yeah.
In 1985, it was so bad that we didn't have anybody coming to the games, right? And so I could actually hear the offensive play getting called in their huddle. I'd stand over the ball, and I'd look, and they'd say, XY 27 on two. And I'm like, all right, baby, let's go. You're talking about getting off the ball.
Yeah.
They'd be watching film the next day, like, gosh, dang, Bill, how come you're getting off the ball so fast? I got the snap count.
Well, John Anthony was at the games. He was there.
He knows. Yeah, we were talking about that back there.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So what about now? Listen, we all are following the conversation around what the future is of these two teams in Kansas City, where they're going to play. Do you have a take, just as a guy who's obviously grown up with this stadium and seen it firsthand as you have, where you want to see this team go, or what you want them to do?
Yeah, well, I don't know where it's going to go. I'm a traditionalist, though, I can tell you that. I'd like to see something get done to keep Arrowhead here, put a new stadium together there. If the Royals leave, I think that would benefit them the most. They can do what they want and put hotels and a new complex and offices and all the things they need. And last that was built, I think that was 1990, I believe, when they moved down to the practice field and then built those offices down there. So it's been quite some time, and it's due for an upgrade. And they've got a lot more employees than they did back then, and they need more room. So I think, for me, I would like to see that occur. I think it would be, it would be heartfelt if they went to Kansas, in my opinion. That's just for me. I to go over there and build and try to make a new home over there when, your home is your home. It would kind of be like, your parents and the place you grew up, and all of a sudden your parents say, hey, we're leaving, or we sold the house. It's no longer ours, and we're going over here. And you're like, what? No, that's our home. Wait a second, Mom, Dad. Hang on, let's rethink that. It's kind of the same feeling.
Mm-hmm. So now it's like, obviously it's all the conversation in this town, and people are thinking about what makes sense. Do the players care about any of this, or do they just kind of like, they do?
Yeah, yeah. Well, you've seen some of the reports, the players' reports on how they feel about, they take a poll of players around the league and what they feel about their their infrastructure, their locker rooms, their treatment areas, their doctors.
Yes.
They fill out these polls, and, we haven't had glowing reviews, I would say, from the players. So, yeah, I think they feel it. And they, if you're the best, you want everything around you to be the best, too. So guys like that. All the frill and the glitz, they like that.
That's more about the amenities versus, let's say, the game day experience on Arrowhead, which it seems like they love.
Yeah, because of the area, and that's tradition.
Yeah,
and that's what I'm talking about. I mean, you don't want to. You're always saying you don't mess with tradition. When that's there and it's in place and it's been advantageous for such a long period of time, do you really want to risk that?
Mm-hmm. Bill Maas is here. You and Andy Reid go back, huh? What's that relationship?
Andy, I had a football camp in the 80s into the 90s, youth football camp here in Kansas City, and Andy worked it for me. When he was the offensive line coach down at the University of Missouri, he came up and worked it with a couple other assistant coaches. And, we go back sometime. And then when he was in Philadelphia, I got done playing. I was up in Green Bay with him when I went to Green Bay for the first year of free agency with Reggie White and Brett Favre. Andy was on that staff there. And then he left and took the Philadelphia job, and I was broadcasting at that time. And I did a lot of those Philly games, and we had, good connection. And he had a show down there, and I was on his show quite often on radio, the Andy Reid show, their coach's show. Because getting Philly fans on board with you when you're not winning, that's a tough hurdle. And so anything I could do, whether it be radio with them, to try to get my hometown to say, hey, guys, you need to buy into this.
So you were a Philly guy trying to make sure that town was embracing Andy Reid, who really had no ties to the area, the city. He was, BYU, Mormon, everything else.
Right. And so it's hard to Philly fans are tough. It doesn't matter how good you are. I mean, they'll get pissed off at everybody for some reason, right? So any angle could help. And I remember I did a game down there, and they just drafted Donovan McNabb, and they had Doug Peterson was starting because they just wanted Donovan to get used to what we're doing here, take it all in before you just throw him into the fire. Kind of like what he did with Patrick Mahomes here with Alex Smith. So they lost the game. It was tough, and everybody's calling for Donovan McNabb. You drafted him, number one, play him. And I said at the end of the game something to the effect, hey, Philly fans, I know you're frustrated. I feel your frustration, but you got to stay with this guy. He's going to turn this program around. You're going to be happy. The next morning, I got ripped so hard in the Philadelphia Inquirer and, WIP.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, WIP just killed me, man.
Monster, massive sports radio station. I can't, Howard Eskin, all those guys. Angelo Cataldi was the morning guy for 40 years. Well, you know what? You got the last laugh on that one, Bill.
Yeah.
You did, man. You did.
And even when he left Philadelphia, they were still on him.
Yeah.
Even though he went to all those NFC Championship games and went to the Super Bowl and lost, they were still on him hard, and they wanted him gone. But, 10, 12 years in one place is a long time, and sometimes that message gets old, but it benefited for us out here, didn't it?
Yeah, it sure did. Ain't that the truth? Bill Maas, newest inductee to the Chiefs Ring of Honor, here for our Feature Friday on KCMO. Bill, thank you so much for coming in. We appreciate it, my man.
Thanks, Pete. Thanks for having me.
Outstanding work, and we've got much more coming up. We'll tell you about a cool event that we're not a part of, but you might want to do it right here in Kansas City. That's next, our caller of the day, and then Kevin Keatsman to wrap up the hour.
Hey, it's Kevin Keatsman. Stick around. I'm coming up at 10 o'clock right after Pete Mundo on KCMO 95.7 FM.
Happy to welcome on a KCMO Talk Radio friend of the show, John Butler. He is the chairman for the Jackson County Republican Party, joining us on 95.7 FM. And they've got a great event coming up. It's a golf tournament. John, what's going on, my man?
Pete, thanks for having me on again. And this tournament's coming up here in next month, Friday, June 20th. It's going to be at Winterstone Golf Course, located in Independence, Missouri. And we're going to tee off at 8 a.m. And we've got a lot of interest, but still some spots available, not only for golfers, but for anybody that wants to sponsor a hole or be one of our presenting sponsors. It's great exposure. We anticipate having roughly 125, 130 golfers, and we're well on our way to getting there, but definitely want to make it available to your listeners and get them on the ground floor of what we're doing.
That's great, man. Now, what does the money raised from the golf tournament go towards?
Either directly or indirectly to support and recruit candidates and do the activism required to get a good conservative agenda done in Jeff City and at local municipalities, whether it be school board races, county races, which are coming up in 2026, and state races, which are also, of course, coming up every 2 years, including some key ones in 2026. And so yeah, we're of course, to fund the operation, golf tournaments like this and events like this go a long way to getting us where we need to go.
And is that really what doing it this year is about? For people that are like, I'll do it next year, I'll golf next year, it's a midterm, it's an election year. Why do I need to do it in 2025? What would you say to that person, John?
It takes a lot of time to get a campaign going. It takes a lot of time to go out and recruit candidates, get them up to speed. Some people, many of our candidates are brand new to politics, but they've got a lot of talent, they've got a lot of ability, and they've got a lot of reach in the community. And it just takes a lot of time to raise money and get them up to speed with the lay of the land and just simply how to operate their campaign. And obviously, when they win, operate in the new capacity that they're in, regardless of the position.
Giacomo.gop. That's Giacomo.gop. All the information is right there to participate in the second annual Liberty Classic Golf Tournament with the Jackson County Republican Party.
I'd like to also give out my phone number because there's a lot of coordination going on with getting teams together and sponsorship. So definitely, they can also contact me at my cell phone, which is 314-406-4447.
314-406-4447. John Butler, Jackson County GOP. Thanks, John. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you, Pete.
There you go. Good information there. And if you can make your way out there, will definitely be a good time to support the Jackson County GOP. It is that time of the morning on KCMO. And our caller of the day tied to, well, I would say our top national story of the day, and that is former FBI Director James Comey finding himself in some hot water. That's right. The Secret Service is investigating an Instagram post from Comey, who put up the seashells, which spell out, what would the word be? It's not spelling if it's just numbers. I've been trying to think about this all morning.
Would be a word, but that I'm thinking of.
I don't know why. It's weird to me to say spell out numbers, but whatever. The numbers 8647 are there on basically sand at a beach with seashells. So Comey posts this yesterday on Instagram, 8647. Now, the official definition of 86 is to eject, reject, remove, but of course, it gets used plenty in slang terms to kill. How naive is James Comey? Well, that's up to you. That's your opinion on how naive James Comey is with this whole thing. He posts it, he then deletes it, and he doesn't really apologize for it. He just says, quote, I posted a picture of some shells I saw today on the beach, which I assumed were a political message. I did not realize some folks associated those numbers with violence. I love how he didn't even say, like, I put the shells together. I was trying to be cute and clever. And, if you misinterpret that, my bad. He said, I posted a picture of some shells I saw today on the beach. So he just stumbled upon seashells that happened to spell out 8647. How stupid does James Comey think we are? I mean, this guy is just smug to a T. He's the definition of smug. And this led to our caller of the day on KCMO.
It's the Mundo in the Morning Caller of the Day on KCMO Talk Radio, now on FM at 95.7.
Roger and Lee Summit. What's up, Roger?
Hey, Pete, how's it going this morning?
Happy Friday, bro. I'm doing well.
Yes, sir. Beautiful day. Yeah. Oh, Comey, he's told us who he was ever since the Hillary exoneration letter, so doesn't really surprise me. Pretty bonehead move, but I saw on Facebook this morning where Eric Schmidt, our great senator from Missouri, he posted a picture of seashells that spelled out FAFO. So,
that's a good job by Eric Schmidt. I got to find that post.
definitely, it was on his page. So he's a Cardinals fan. We'll have to hold that against him. But anyway.
Yeah. You know, no one's perfect, right?
Exactly.
Have a great weekend.
One, Pete.
Thanks, Roger. Yep. That was good stuff. I did find that post on X from Eric Schmidt, our Missouri junior U.S. Senator this morning. And thank you to Roger for bringing that to our attention. A lot of people have had fun with artificial intelligence in the wake of this. You know, you've had people just saying, like, James Comey is a traitor with seashells lined out. The Grok tool, the AI tool from Grok, which is on X, if you're a X user, is fantastic. I used it yesterday just to put a picture of Trump up in, like, the Arab garb because he's having such a great time overseas. And it made me a photo of Trump holding a McDonald's bag with the Arab garb. And it came up in like 5 seconds. It was amazing.
Bam.
It was really impressive. So I posted that on X as a way to honor Trump. I was like, this guy's crushing it overseas. He's going to come back with Arab garb and a bag of McDonald's. And I put in the Grok, I said, give me a photo of President Trump in Arab garb holding a bag of McDonald's. And within 15 seconds, I had the photo. And I was like, damn, this is good. I'll do more of this. So people are having fun with this seashells bit as well in the wake of the Comey news. And now the Secret Service is involved as well. Coming up, we are going to have Kevin Keatsman here to wrap up the week and wrap up the show before Uncanceled takes over at 10 o'clock on 95.7 FM KCMO and always streaming on the KCMO Talk Radio app.
On Friday's Guy Benson Show, House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer on some of his work, plus the big, beautiful bill. Progress report there. Coming up at 2 o'clock on KCMO.
Keatsman's here to wrap up the week on KCMO. Uncanceled is just over 10 minutes away. Good morning, my man. How are you?
Hey, Pete, how are you, buddy? Good week, man. Today's been amazing.
Well, I appreciate that.
Well, you had the governor on talking about Missouri and the teams, and you had the House Speaker in Kansas on talking about Kansas and the teams. And it sounds like we're going to have to split these teams in half because they're both going to have stadiums on both sides. We're going to have 4 new facilities. They're each going to have facilities on each state line because everybody's convinced they've got them.
That would be the most politician move ever. 4 games in Kansas for the Chiefs, 4 in Missouri.
Hey, here's a footnote. When I was a kid, the Kansas City Kings were the Kansas City Omaha Kings.
Yep.
Because they played games in Omaha, too.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So,
well, how many, John? 10 a year?
Yeah, at least when they moved from Cincinnati, they didn't have all the space and dates at Municipal Auditorium, so they split them up for about 2 or maybe 3 years.
Yeah. That's
Really?
the jersey you want, not the one that says Kansas City. You want the one that says Kansas City, Omaha.
Are those jerseys out there on eBay
I don't
or
know.
something?
I haven't seen one in a long time, but I'll bet you can find it.
You a jersey guy?
No.
Okay.
I'm a grown man, Pete.
I don't wear. I told you last year when I bought the Butker jersey, that was the first jersey I bought since I was a kid.
I might do that. Oh, no, I'll buy one. I've got some framed. Is that what you mean, or are you talking about going to the game?
Like have a jersey on. Like
I don't really do jerseys.
Yeah, I don't either until I got the Butker jersey.
I would probably do that.
Yeah.
But maybe not to a Chiefs game. I'd wear it to some other, like, site. If you had a Red Friday tailgate or something, a party, maybe, or somebody's house, maybe I'd wear it there.
Yeah. No. Well, hey, by the way, your extraordinary producer here, you haven't been here for a football season. He wears a jersey like every day during football season.
I saw a few.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Remember, the Chiefs play 8 months out of the year. So I was here in December and January, and they played into February.
That's
So,
right.
yeah,
That's right.
I've seen it.
Mark's gonna. How many jerseys you got, Mark?
Right now I only have a Kelsey and a Mahomes.
Oh, that's it.
So yeah.
Okay.
Of current players, you don't keep your old ones?
I outgrow them.
I outgrow
when I was a kid.
I was gonna say which way?
Just when I was a
Sideways?
kid. Yeah, I mean I had a Christian Okoye that kind of dates.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that does a little bit.
I'm not kidding you. I saw a Tamarick Vanover last year at Arrowhead.
Did you?
I did. It's so, and the more fun than that is going on the road. When you go on the road, there are people that have moved there and they've lived there a long time, and they brought one Chiefs jersey with them when they moved. Like I remember being in San Diego several years ago before they made their move, and I'm trying to think who it was that they had. Who did we had 2 names of somebody. Oh, it was Dawson. They had a Lake Dawson jersey on, not a Len Dawson jersey. They had moved out there. He's wearing his Lake Dawson jersey at a Chiefs-Chargers game. I'm like, oh, God. He moved with one jersey, and he probably got that draft year, right?
Isn't it amazing now? I mean, especially when you've seen and been through the dark times, you watch these Chiefs road games, and, I mean, the way that this team travels now, and whether it's just fans who are now fans because of Mahomes, like my wife's sister works with a guy. They're both probably 30 years old. He's a kid that grew up in Long Island, New York. He is like the biggest Chiefs fan ever. I don't know him at all.
Right.
But she's like, he is dying to come out here and come to a game. And he's this Mahomes. It's like Michael Jordan-esque with the Bulls. I was a Bulls guy in the 90s, not because I cared about the Bulls, but I was, 5 to 10 years old, and Michael Jordan was the guy.
Yeah. I haven't looked today, but a couple hours after the draft, or not the draft, the schedule release on Wednesday night, like 9 o'clock Wednesday night, the highest regular season ticket prices, aftermarket prices, were the Chiefs at Cowboys.
For Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Well, how many Chiefs fans? What are we talking about? 30,000 people going to be rolling down I-35?
Well, let me, so that in particular, for years, my brother is still a Cowboys fan. Same thing. 90s, Aikman, Emmitt Smith, Deion, the whole thing. I kind of made him that way, but I was never really a fan. I just realized I like Troy Aikman. I like number 8. So he's still a Cowboys fan. My dad was a Parcells guy. So Giants, Cowboys, followed Parcells around. And he's like, we've never been to Jerry World. Obviously, you're there in Kansas City with the Chiefs. When they play the Chiefs this year, we'll go to Jerry World. It's Thanksgiving. It's not going to happen.
I know.
now.
Well, you're at the point where you have to do that.
I know.
The second it came out, I said, Jessica, this is the year. Sorry, family, we're ditching all of you.
Yeah, no,
we're out of here.
That's great.
Sorry, I've done 59 Thanksgivings all the same way. It's time to do one a little different.
Yeah.
Sorry, family.
Well, good for you.
Yeah.
But it was all this. We had talked about it for years because, you knew this was the year they would be at Dallas.
Yeah.
You knew just how they schedule it division against division. And it was like, the 3 of us will meet. Dad's in, the D.C. area and brothers in Boston. I'm here. We'll all meet in Dallas for a weekend and go to this game. I'm not going to be there at Thanksgiving. It's just not going to happen.
This one just kind of occurred to me when you said about the Dallas dynasty and their Super Bowls. The Chiefs are the first fun dynasty in NFL history. I mean, nobody liked the Patriots. At the end, Brady was throwing for big yards and they were scoring some points, but he never had like a mark. He didn't have a Travis Kelce. Like Gronkowski was there a shorter period of time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there were things, but all these other dynasties were run the ball, play defense, linebackers were their stars. They're all kind of the same. The game's changed now.
Yeah.
I think the Chiefs are the first really entertaining, fun dynasty the NFL's ever had.
Now,
I think history will remember them very well because this was fun.
You would say,
I know
the game was different, but that Cowboys dynasty did not fit it.
I don't think so. I mean, go look at Troy Aikman's numbers.
Yeah.
He didn't throw the ball.
Yeah.
What did he throw for about $1.60 a game? I mean, it's low numbers. Hand the ball to Emmett, play defense.
Yeah.
It's 3rd and 7, throw it to Irvin. That's it. I mean, their offense wasn't designed around Michael Irvin. It was okay, we got to get a first down, throw it to him.
Did the personalities around that team with Switzer and Jimmy Johnson and Jerry and, Nate Newton, guys like that, did that add anything to
for
the
sure.
charisma?
Yeah, and I'm not talking about the fame or the historic, precedent of what they did or who and what they were, because it was wild. They had the Dallas White House and all, all these other, and the Patriots were sort of known for the same sort of stuff. A lot of off the field things happen, and then the Brady Belichick relationship at the end was. We haven't had that yet here. We really haven't had that. What we've had for America, and we see it in the TV ratings, is love them or hate them. They're fun to watch. The games are all close. The Chiefs don't pound anybody.
Yeah.
Most often they're behind, and Mahomes pulls the rabbit out of the hat. It's just the most entertaining dynasty the Chiefs, the league, I think, has ever had.
And now you got this ESPN documentary coming this fall. And listen, they're also the most likable. If Travis Kelce had never hooked up with Taylor Swift, they are by far the most likable. But I still think they're the most likable. The only unlikable part is Kelce got a little political, and Taylor's obviously controversial. And now Trump's tweeting about Taylor again this morning, and around and around we go.
I think there's a chance both of them by the end of the Trump presidency has concluded that both of them have either gotten completely out of politics or have become conservative.
Travis and Taylor?
Uh-huh. They're growing up. There's rumors, hey, we're going to have a kid. What's going to happen? People change.
Yeah.
And Taylor Swift, of all people, I mean, she's like a billionaire.
Mm-hmm.
These tax policies, the things Trump's doing with intellectual property and China, these things have just begun. If Taylor Swift is watching Donald Trump, it is cutting right to the core of everything she believes in, except abortion.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Separate it. I hate to tell this to our audience, but Donald Trump doesn't really care about abortion. He said, just send it back to the states. I don't want this issue.
Yeah.
Y'all figure out where you live, what's right for you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm okay with that. I love states' rights. So go for it. I don't understand it. Like Taylor Swift and her people hate Trump or Republicans simply over abortion and not much else.
Here's the amazing part. If Taylor does settle with Travis, if they get married, have the baby, do the whole thing, I wonder what that does to her brand, because her brand, the Swiftyism brand, is girl power. You don't need a man. You're good on your own. And that's how she raised a generation of young women. And if she goes back on that, what do? They all get married now?
2.0, you would assume that most of
2.0.
her fans are going to wind up getting married and having kids. Most of them. You would think,
And
right?
they'll trend more conservative when that happens.
Yeah, they'll be like, oh, there's my role model as a mom. Look at this sweet thing. And look at Brittany as a mom. Look at this sweet thing. And look at Brittany Mahomes and how she's changed in the short years that they've been here. She was one of the most despised people in Kansas City. She was terrible on social media. She was unlikable. There was nothing really. And now she's had babies with Patrick Mahomes. He's cut his hair. They're settling down. She's Team MAGA. Everybody loves Brittany Mahomes now.
You're right.
I mean, it is unbelievable what's happened with her.
That's a great example. Great example. Hey, man, have a great weekend. Wish me well. I'm 1-on-3 this weekend.
Go get him, buddy. Good luck.
I may be calling Keatsman for some help.
I'm expensive on the weekends. You better call the plumbing pro on that one, buddy.
That's fine. I will do that. Have a good one, my friend.
You too.
Kevin Keatsman, Uncanceled, coming up. If you missed Dan Hawkins, Mike Kehoe, any of that this morning, it will be up on the podcast, Apple, Spotify. We're back on Monday.